very much. Now let's break into the map veto. I think we have a bit of a clue of where we might be heading for the first map, but let's see the veto holistically. So Bank and Chalet banned by Bleed Sky, and Border by M80. I'm interested to see that Border ban because even though M80 banned it out, like, it is Bleed's least favorite map. So a bit of a game of chicken there. Where are we going to head first? It is Cafe. Who would have thought?
Oh my God!
And
I cannot
Oregon
believe it.
next up.
Yeah, Oregon next up. Well, we've seen Bleed play this map in Phase 2 so far. Was the map they had a really close game against Talon on, and probably their weakest performance, I would say. Well, they didn't look great against Furia, the first map of their best of 3, but that's also the World Champions. But probably the second worst performance I think we've seen from Bleed so far inside of Phase 2, almost dropping that at Talon. Winnable game in there, but a map they are nonetheless extremely comfortable on. A map that they actually beat W7M at SI 8-7 on just a few months ago. Cafe, being M80's pick, only played it once this stage, and Nighthaven Labs as our decider. If this goes 3 maps, as both these teams did at SI, you and I will have another Nighthaven Labs game to cast, and hopefully we'll have at least one more round than the Beast Coast game earlier. Hopefully a close affair if we go all through.
I do have a feeling this game will be a close affair. I mean, looking at the first map, a bit of a red flag for Bleed is that the last time they played Cafe, they got smacked 7-0 by Space Station.
Ooh.
But if you look a little bit further back in history, back at the 6 Invitational, Bleed beat Los, so that's when Cameraman was on that team, 7-2 on Cafe. So Cameraman has played against Bleed on this map before, and he knows how good they are on it. Oregon, pretty solid map for both teams. We've seen some good wins, some pretty devastating losses. M80, for example, 7-1 loss against Beast Coast in the North America League. But of course, we're about to get into it. Cafe is the very first map in this series. It is a grudge match between APAC and North America. Bleed look to continue their undefeated streak in the fixture against M80. But of course, this is a very different M80 that we see here today in Manchester. An M80 fortified with 2 British players that would love nothing more than to play on the main stage. The winner of this game will qualify to play on Friday in front of thousands of British fans. Let's dig into the first map.
And for both of these teams, getting to that promotion, very, very well deserved. Starting out on Cafe, for either of these teams, a really good omen for the rest of the series. Both these teams, I think, relying a lot on momentum. Spoit with the individual performance, Bleed with the energy. Taking an operator like Ying out very early on for Bleed, I think very sensible for that exact reason, can really build up the momentum, not across a series necessarily, but certainly in a round when you're going for an execute. So, sensible thing to start out. Remember, M80 only played Cafe one time, and it was all the way back in the regular season of the North America League. So a lot of things to be changed. A completely new look could be given. And taking down the Blitz, we know how oppressive shields are right now, but in my opinion, maybe the bigger offender, Monty, still in the cards.
Yeah, a bit of a curious one there. I haven't seen a abusive use of Blitz by Bleed.
I haven't either, actually.
Yeah, perhaps M80 knows something we don't. I actually tend to see Bleed play a little bit more Montaigne than the Blitz, but perhaps M80 want to keep that open themselves. Of course, they do have Kino on the roster, very infamous Blitz and Monty player, not necessarily for the right reasons.
I always bring this back up because it's genuinely one of the funniest moments in an interview I've seen in the last year. Jesse asked Kino during an NAL interview, what is one of the big reasons to your success this stage? And he very quickly replied, I'm not on Shields anymore.
I swear he played Shields at the Major already, didn't he?
I think he's played Shield a few times, but especially in the regular season, he usually had a gun in hand and was very consistently, often really helpful in the team for a lot of those rounds. Early on in the NA group stage, he had really strong individual performances and then kind of plateaued a little bit, evened out, but like we said, when you have Spoit and Citizen on the roster who fill 2 different roles and yet excel at them, you don't necessarily need to be dropping double digits consistently. Those 2 players can win games on their own and just need a little support from players like Noodle, by the way, that we've not really talked about, who struggled inside of the NAL, but is having a decent tournament so far, a bit of a return to form.
Of course, Noodle himself made main stage in Atlanta with the GK roster when he was playing with the Saudi team as well. But for M80, of course, it's been a bit of a brief major so far. They've only played 3 best-of-1s. They did get a really solid win in their opening game against Team Liquid, which I'm sure would have felt great, particularly for a guy like Cameraman, who has always been neck and neck with the big teams in Brazil. They won that 8-6. Then they went up against the Aussies and lost to Team Bliss, did M80. A bit of a surprise to a lot of people. and then their final game that they played thus far was against ITB, who we saw eliminated this morning, and that was the big 7-0, the big confidence builder for M80, and I think it puts them in big stead. But of course, they're moving into their first best-of-3 series, and we haven't really seen many BO3s from them at all since they got this big roster revamp. Of course, you can look back into the NAL, but a very different beast playing a BO3 here on LAN.
And yeah, the only best of threes we've seen them play have been elimination games, or this org have played have been elimination games at majors. You know, I think, yeah, going 1-3 at Copenhagen, 0-3 in Atlanta. Then obviously played a lot of best of threes at SI, but still didn't make it out of the group stage. They were the only team eliminated out of their group. So we have seen them play best of threes a while ago, and most of them didn't go well, but they've revamped their roster. They've come back, and now this is the first international best of 3 with this new squad, with Spoit, with Citizen leading the way, Cameraman guiding the tools. But Bleed, to talk about them again, you mentioned the GK roster, and I'm glad you said that because the two big underdog stories we had were GK and Bleed.
Yeah.
Who's going to make it? Are they both going to make it? Unfortunately, Bleed didn't. GK did. But with the changes they've had in GK rapidly falling off after Atlanta, Bleed are the heirs apparent, in my mind, to the dark horses in the world right now for these majors.
That's so true. Bleed have been such a strong and steady roster, whereas GK, like, they had one major that they did amazingly, and they dropped off at SI, and they've now dropped off even further here in Manchester, right? Whereas Bleed have been real slow and steady. Yes, they were disappointed they didn't qualify for Copenhagen a year ago, but guess what? Not a single roster change has been made by Bleed in the last year and 2 months.
Aside from bringing on one of the best coaches in the world.
Yeah. None of the 5 players have changed, but yes, they've brought in world champion coach Julio, who has really helped to just fortify this roster and get them 110% out of each of these 5 very talented players. In contrast, M80, like, these guys have only been together for realistically like 2 months. Not a long time. And I think that they're still trying to find their footing a little bit as a squad. They've never played a BO3 on LAN together as a roster. This is their first time delving into that. And definitely I think that even though a lot of these players weren't on the team, there's still going to be a little bit of that kind of looming curse of, oh, we're playing against Bleed. These guys knocked us out 2 events in a row.
Talk about the game. Ironically, given my statement earlier, we do have Kino on Montaigne in the first game.
No way, I didn't even notice that. So he was just trolling Jesse.
And also, to be fair, that was like week 2 or week 3. I think actually it was the first game they won against Sonics on Oregon, so we'll see how this ends up going. Turret with a nice little run out, and nice. Spoit completely ready for it. Really nice read by Spoit right there, conscious of his position to watch the double door. Just good awareness from M80 in this mid-round as they have made an entry now into the building. Of course, as you can see, it's a reading room defense. So getting this vertical control in good timing is very, very solid. But also, Kino making his way into train very quickly. Got to be careful. Remember we saw Hot and Cold a little overexposed on this Montaigne by himself. Yeah, there's nobody to trade him at the moment, and Diffuser now in possession of the defense. Maybe got to hop off that shield next round.
Yeah, well, Spoit at least thankfully takes down the Chinese sensation of Reaps, who's been one of the best players in the tournament so far. Cameraman finds his gap as well onto Hoven.
All right.
Big reaction from M80. First round in, they're very fired up.
Kino even in chat, Monty moment. I appreciate the self-awareness because, yeah, that was definitely a very silly play right there. I actually think, here's the thing. If he doesn't have Diffuser, I'd probably be reading it optimistically right now and saying, okay, he walks in, goes for the distraction, and then M80 collapse around the site. Take down the players who are focused on the Monty. Cameraman flanks up White Stairs, takes them down in the back line as players are rotating. And I probably would have praised that decision no matter if it was intentional or not. With the Diffuser, it looks a little weird, but M80 reacting very well in that instance. Kino goes down, the Diffuser's not in play, but they do collapse around the defense. They do get all of those kills, Spoit especially, with a very nice 2-piece in that round. Overall, a strong individual performance for M80 to start.
Attackers have discovered the location of a bomb.
Very chill from M80 to start. This is their map pick, of course, so they're starting on the unfavored side, but they should have a very solid game plan coming into this. As for Bleed, we were talking before about how few games M80 has played at the major, just 3 best-of-1s so far. Bleed has played 12 maps so far. 12 maps! Firstly, they were seeded into Phase 1 instead of Phase 2, unlike M80, but secondly, they played a ton of BO3s. Like, this is the first BO3 M80 has played, but the 5th, in fact, that we've seen Bleed play so far. Like, that is a hell of a lot of BO3 games, and against some very strong competition as well. You know, SSG, Furia, yeah, I mean, they're very much warmed up. But Cafe has not been a regular one for them. Of course, the 7-0 against Space Station, a loss that is definitely still looming over their heads.
Yeah, really struggling to gain momentum in that series. They've regained the momentum in Phase 2, as they were in the promotion game 2-0 against Furia. Those were best of ones. Bleed certainly feeling a bit more confident, I think, especially even since Phase 1, which they qualified off of. I was criticizing the individual performances, and as, by the way, Mentalist confirmed, I know you and I talked about in a Bleed game that it seemed they had an overthinking problem. Mentalist actually confirming that later on as well in an interview at this major, that they've been overthinking a lot of the attacks, especially in round, and causing a lot of the problems we've been seeing. But since they've made that kind of recognition, they've looked better and better incrementally so. Sure, dropping against Furia, but still having a very close map 2 in that series. As they're moving in here, they're not looking to contest control all that much. They're holding the bottom floor. M80 are just now getting the second floor, minute 20 seconds in. As long as you hold these power positions down below, Coat Check, VIP, can be a very winnable round without putting somebody on the middle floor.
Just takes a long time going for a push like this for M80, and if Bleed are careful not to forfeit any picks on the vertical game, then I would be a little bit concerned about the amount of time it's taken M80 to go for this map clear. The hatch now being opened. The Monty is always a nice little cheat code that you can put in there if you maybe don't have enough time to do a solid clear. That's a bit of an unfortunate grenade there from Noodle.
Last one too.
Yeah, he may get punished for that. I mean, this shield position in VIP is going to be difficult to clear.
This is where the Monty always goes on this attack, though, or at least the vast majority of the time, to try to break through that control, through that shield, pressure him, maybe push him into Citizen, or expose him to the gun behind the Monty, so he will move on in. But again, Kino has Diffuser, so if he drops again, it could be problematic, but there's the follow-up from Noodle. That's what we need to see, but Bleed are fighting back.
Indeed they are. Reaps here at Whiskey looks to try and fall back. He wants to take a little bit more with him, but he doesn't get it. However, good trades. Again, Asfi supporting from Reception, who decides now to fall back. Good timing for it as well. His cameraman's looking to get aggressive. The Monty is still up, but low HP. How will M80 look to shape up for this eventual execute? They're looking for picks now. That's a very dangerous game to play, Kino. He loses his life, but Spoit springs back up into action. Mentalist in a 1v2. Good flash. The Warden will keep it at bay. He's going to be swung from 2 different angles at once. He needs to play this to perfection. He knows exactly where they are. Spoit on the close angle. And the Swede gets him. His reputation precedes him.
Really a solid round from M80 there. Individually, though, because Bleed, Dev, it might be 0-2. I'm liking what I'm seeing. I'm liking what I'm seeing, because when they see that execute incoming, sure, the guy behind the shield dies, but Bleed defenders are in positions to trade it out, and specifically Reaps getting that kill onto Citizen. He was playing the VIP double window, but also could have rotated and tried to deal with the player coat check. Citizen could have been a big problem for that structure, but with Reaps winning that fight, that allows Asfi to rotate out of coat check and then support the player behind the bar and get the trade and make it a 3v3, which caused a big problem for M80, and Mentalist as well, able to shut down that Monty. Bleed had the advantage in that round in terms of control, in terms of strategy, in terms of individual skill, up until Spoit started hopping into the site and fragging out, and that's the problem with this team. 4-0 now, another massive double kill, 2 rounds in the row. Spoit can take over games, and as you said, the Swede's reputation precedes him, and he's going to be very famous continuing through this series.
Yeah, and we've seen that consistently throughout the tournament. M80 have been star-studded players thus far. I mean, Citizen's actually the top-rated player on this team. 4th best in the competition. He hasn't even died on entry as of yet. 5-0 for entry. Spoit is just behind him, 5th place. One of the best in the competition thus far. And Noodle as well in the top 10 at 9th. Reaps, who I was touting to be one of the best players at the major thus far, is behind all 3 of them at 11th. And it really just goes to show, you've got 3 players from M80 in the top 10, more than any other team. This is a roster with some serious fragging potential.
And when you have that 3rd player on M80 with 2 insane players, and sure, it could be Kino, but I think a lot of us were predicting Noodle would be that 3rd fragger at the beginning of the stage to step up. Well, Spoit almost stepping down, unfortunately, will revive himself with the Adrenal Surge, but there's Noodle getting Reaps, the very player you highlighted.
Oh, and indeed, it looks to be a bit of a rush here.
Clear.
Citizen is forcing this plant down here in mining, and I don't think Bleed are aware of it at all. Tursa tries to make a bit of a play, but he is shut down. This gas seemingly fruitless. Hoven finds a consolation frag, but I think that's all he's going to get. Asfi above, looking to duel this player on the windows. But there's very little chance of making this one work for Bleed. M80 have such solid post-plant positions. They've got the site on lock, and Spoit locks in the final kill. Firing up for M80, they're up 3-0 on the attack of Cafe.
And while the first 2 rounds, especially the second round, looked very close with winnable moments for Bleed there, it was just a well-executed game plan from M80. Sure, Spoit goes down. He revives himself with the Adrenal Surge, but they've got the win condition, and ironically, given Bleed's strength in round 2, there was nobody really there to either trade out that control or deny it. M80 just walked into mining for free, and nobody retook up Red Hall or contested from Train until it was too late. Part of that was because of good utility usage, but as Julio's probably going to be talking about right here, we're down to 0-3.
Wow.
Let's just calm down, because this has been a solid game from Bleed so far.
Yeah, there have been some gaps that have been taken, but Julio is the man to really talk to them. I really would love to know what he's saying right now. Obviously, Bleed are typically an animated team, but the mental really goes against them. If they start to slink back into their shells, you really see that in their performance. Turds to going for a run out in the first round, shut down, no more confidence. Bleed, a couple of miscommunications, a plant allowed, no more confidence, no more conviction. I don't know what Julio has said, but he needs to conjure up some kind of way to get this team to reset.
And I think that's the big thing, because like I said, we had the good performance on round 2, but it seems this whole tournament, maybe you disagree with me, Dev, but I felt like this tournament, the Bleed I remember from Atlanta and SI, especially Atlanta, they felt a lot more hype at previous events. This event has felt a lot quieter, despite in Phase 2 performing very well.
I think it's a challenge because at the start, when you haven't achieved anything, you're an underdog. And now we have expectation on Bleed. You know, the very first time Bleed went to a major, people wouldn't have been too surprised if they didn't win a game. And then they won several. They took down M80 at both Atlanta and SI. And suddenly, like, they are the favorites in this matchup to a lot of people. Obviously, this is a very different M80 roster, but the head-to-head doesn't lie. It's a 2-0 in favor of Bleed. If M80 win this game, that really changes the conversation quite a lot. And so for Bleed, I think that extra pressure has been mounting. They've also been trying to change a little bit of how they operate, because we know Bleed have been a very inconsistent team in the past. I think that's the best way to describe it. They actually weren't champions of Southeast Asia, or Asia if you want to call it that, both stages. Last year, it was actually Fury that came first both times. This stage, it came down to a big best-of-3 grand final, and they did get the better of Fury the first time they've done so in a best-of-3.
Still a close series,
since
though.
Bleed's inception. And yes, it was a close series. And for me, the moment that these guys finally beat Fury was the moment when I thought, okay, they finally have gotten past that mental game. And yet we haven't seen that here, because the pretty devastating loss against SSG was quite one statement, and going 0-3 down here so far against M80 has been another.
And intervening in the mental with Julio, hitting that pause button, I think definitely the big thing. But of course, you know, there have been some strategic problems. We should talk about that too. Letting the plant go down in round 3, nobody really in a position to deal with it, caught completely off guard by what is overall a pretty standard rush on that bomb site. You're really not going to see anybody run up or down white stairs. It's going to be through the window.
I happened to see on the second monitor as well that Citizen was put a bit of smack talk in the chat during the technical break as well. He said, Hoven, why didn't you deny that? Like, missed gas babe, you know, missed opportunity. M80 are very confident right now. Obviously, we are just fixing up with a rehost.
Almost got everybody.
Yeah, a technical pause. We've got 9 out of 10 players in the lobby, I can tell you guys right now, so we're almost in for it. But I do wonder, like, obviously the players aren't able to, you know, have a conversation and strat in this. They can't talk to their coach either. But this does disrupt the momentum.
It does. I mean, look, Reeps is napping right now. He's just sitting back, just
Here
laying
go.
down. There we go.
I like this. So now that they know they're starting, Julio said, "Okay, guys, you've had your time to rest." What's that? Is that a finger tap bump?
I've not seen that one before.
Fingertip bump.
We've seen the high five. We've seen the knuckles. We've seen the knuckle high five.
Yeah, the ball.
Yeah.
Yep.
And now we've seen, I don't know, I guess the
finger tap.
Yeah. I was trying to come up with a phrase for it, but nothing came to mind.
I don't know.
Couldn't put my finger on it.
That was smooth.
Come on.
Big dog.
Big dog.
Smooth, mate.
What can I say? Some people got it, some people don't.
I want to see some of the players give each other a big dog, like the full proper, hand clasp, pat on the back. That's the full way to do it.
Or they could do like the Troy and Abed. I want to see somebody do the Troy and Abed handshake from Community.
Handshake?
Just like
yeah.
they just walk off to them like, hey, you guys can't hear us really. We messed it up royally.
I haven't watched Community for a while now.
I thought you and Easy have done it before.
Yeah, we have, but I have a terrible memory. So.
Oh, okay.
It's like this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, we actually just killed that right there. That was crazy.
That one.
Anyway, back into the game. Bleed obviously down 0-3. They will go back to what I thought was the strongest defense they had on this half. Kitchen, which was very winnable. They had a 3v2 at one point, had an advantage, failed to convert it because of some really solid individual play from Spoit, who...
Spoit's been gnarly this game.
He's still deathless, I believe.
Oh, yeah. I mean...
Because he revived himself at the beginning of the previous round.
Oh, did he now?
Yeah, he did.
I'm having a look at the stats, and it says, he's 5-0 at the moment. Cameraman's 3-0. Of course, in-game, unfortunately, the stats are not complete because of that rehearse. But, yeah, if you've just tuned in, right, M80 have just won 3 attacks in a row on Cafe. Each one quite convincing. The least convincing was this Kitchen round before.
But we are seeing a decently big change. We still have Kino on the Monty, but Spoit on this Amaru can take control of the top floor very quickly, but he was setting up for a Gara hook in the window and thinks better of it. Decides to instead rotate, and now they could go for a pretty similar take to what they went for before. They've got the boogie drones to open up the vertical control in mining, inside of dining as well. The Amaru not going to be super useful for the late round on this site, so... That's why I'm really curious, because you'd think you would use the Amaru to get control quickly in this early round, but Spoit is just droning with the rest of them.
You can always use the Amaru for various other things, and at the end of the day, it's also just a great gunned operator. What's the word there? Well-equipped operator.
Good gun.
Good gun.
Playing it for the G8.
G8 go brrr, SMG11 go...
I'm partial to the Supernova myself, but...
Many are. I wouldn't be surprised if he's running it as
Nah,
well.
he's running the G8. I saw it.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Well, he's SMG11 enthusiast at the moment. Very aggressive as well, peeking down the white stairs. Now, unfortunately, it means he doesn't have the buck to engage vertical like he did last time. But, of course, we've got the ram, so it's really going to be on cameraman for that.
Especially with that vertical control. Kino probably going to be setting up, especially as we're a minute 40 seconds in. Probably going to be setting up for that same push down the stairs. I mean, if they want to, if they really wanted to big brain it, they could drop Kino like on backside and then rush Freezer as everyone starts rotating over to deny the backside push. We'll see if they actually decide to do that. If they call it, we do see Noodle going over to Bakery right now, so it doesn't look like it'll be a complete flip from M80, but we do have a couple players looking to push this front side.
Does look like a flip, actually.
Ooh, but Kino's rotating over, so it's not exactly what I call it.
Yeah, oh, here we go. The Vulcan canister detonates. Kino, oh, he's dead!
Well,
completely obliterated, straight into the fire, and he falls. However, a good trade from Cameraman. Still presence in Bakery, though, for Bleed. They haven't given it up yet. Mentalist holding on to this position with the Echo. Gotta be careful, though. He is contesting Spoit on the other side. We know how much that player is on fire. A lot of damage, though, done. Noodle comes around the corner.
Oh, he's ready for it.
Big from Mentalist. Eventually goes down. Spoit gets that trade and must now come inside to support the team. But guess what? Look at that clock. 20 seconds left to play. M80 have left it far too late. Second guessing themselves. They will need to go nuclear now on the site. Collapsing with a few big frags. Spoit finishes off Mentalist, but Hoven is there to get a good refrag onto Cameraman, and Terza closes the final 2. The first round for the Southeast Asian roster, and finally, a bit of fire underneath them.
Really a bit of a silly rotation from M80. Not the rotation itself, but...
Monty moment.
Trust me, I'm about to have a Monty moment for the next 30 seconds.
That's so Kino, bro.
No, but seriously, like, you rotate Bakery, and you don't know there's a Vulcan pack on there, and then you commit to the fire when you walk in and don't just... walk out of the door?
He was like, oh, if I go deep enough, I'll survive, and he did not.
No, the fire's not that small. It's not like a molly. It's got a pretty big radius. So definitely a bit of a huge mistake, huge blunder from M80 not clearing out the Bakery position despite rotating to it in the late round, and then a big individual mistake from Kino right there, and the round pretty much collapsed because of it.
I still don't understand why they decided to switch up from the VIP take, which was tried and true the last time they did it.
Just clear out the front side if you're going to commit, guys. I mean, if they're still up 3-1, you know, it's not the end of the world, but that could have been 4-0 right there if you were able to make that extra
big momentum shifter as well. We had a tactical timeout into a pretty long technical timeout into a bit of a questionable round from M80, and we saw it on the faces of Bleed. Like, they are fired up after that one.
Asfi already entered all chat.
Yeah, he's in the old chat. He's smack talking, giving it back to them. Still fighting from behind, which is not great, especially on Cafe. But if they can just get some momentum back, I wouldn't be surprised if Bleed can make this very competitive.
For sure, and defense definitely being, I think, the side I have liked from them more in this. A 3-3 half is very, very possible with the skill, the ceiling that Bleed have. I'd like to see a bit more impact from Turdsta on this Solus roam. We didn't really need to see a lot from really anybody except the site players on Bleed last time, and obviously Turdsta still getting 2 kills since the rehost. So good performance from him, but previously he kind of hopped out of a window and immediately died when we saw him get aggressive. Not on this bomb site.
Classic Turdsta though. Like he's looking for aggressive plays. Sometimes they don't work. Your hope is that you get him like 55, 60 at least % of the time.
And with that Solus, I mean, can very well inform his decision-making to get to that 55-60 points. Smoke boat goes on in, caught by a magnet. Ooh, caught Firebolt in hand, but Noodle cutting down Asfi, and Reap's almost ahead of the play.
Looks to try and escape. Oh, good cutoff though from Spoit. So quick on the reaction times for that one as well. That's the player they were looking for. A 2-player advantage now for M80 as Turdsta has rotated back upstairs and is looking to try and put some pressure on for this flank, but Noodle is somehow snuck into sight. It's not all fine and dandy, though, for M80. While they have got good control, they have lost a lot of players. Now, Turdsta is not really in a position. He could deny this from above, but he has no idea the plant's going down. Now he brings out that scanner, but he's not looking in the right direction. He doesn't know where the plant has been confirmed. Hoven and Mentalist together look for this retake. It's very winnable for them in a 3v3. They have to play together. They have to make their move together because there are 2 players on the attack hiding around this corner. First one for Hoven. Oh, he sees both of them. A hell of a lot of damage dealt, but not the kill. Mentalist looks for something as well. Turdsta's got to come and support. Mentalist finds the first. There's Turdsta as well. Swinging at the final moment. Jumping onto the diffuser. Just enough time for Bleed to get their second round.
Very, very close retake right there. Very close. They're able to win the fights in the late round. It was a very good start for M80. They're coordinating on that top floor clear. Noodle gets the first pick, and then Spoit, as you pointed out, with that cutoff angle over by the cocktail balcony. But M80, continuing with it, find their way into sight. They do make it. But I got to highlight Hoven's individual performance. When Bleed have been lacking, when they were underperforming, it was Reap showing up, but it was also Hoven showing up, kind of making up for that lost aggression that we didn't see from Turdsta. Even though Hoven playing a bit more supportive and a bit more anchoring of a role, still getting a lot of those big picks showing up in the early round when Bleed were underperforming. And now that they've come back, that Turdsta especially has started showing up a bit more. At one point, he was the lowest rated player on Bleed at the tournament.
He went 1-14 in the Space Station series or something.
Something like that. But Hoven is still maintaining that performance, and now we have something more consistent from Bleed. So obviously, a good retake overall from the team, but Hoven has really been a rock for this team throughout the entirety of Phase 1 and 2.
10 seconds left.
Much needed round. Like if that had been in M80's favor, I think Bleed would be pretty worried. They succeeded 2 very early picks. The fact they could come back from a 3v5 and a retake with the plant down, it really does speak quite a lot to what Bleed are capable of here. Not to be trifled with. M80, though, still in the lead, though I have a feeling, Carter, that could very swiftly dissipate.
I think a 3-3 is very, very possible. M80 also aren't going for the same quick play onto mining that they did before, so they're going to run into probably a bit more of this Bleed setup. Spoit caught lacking on the balcony. Reap sitting beneath the window will remove the head from the buck. And one of the best players at the entire tournament. So, you were hoping for that 3-3 half, Dev. You got a 5v4 to convert now.
Yeah. It's not unwinnable for M80, but it's certainly going to be a challenge. Cafe attack can be difficult at the best of times, and Spoit has been quite instrumental.
So instrumental, especially when he's hitting his shots, but Reap's able to get the better of him. Now what do we have? No, nothing but the entirety of Bleed's roam setup. 1 flashbang or move the player playing Shaiko, but still 2 players, and Reap's actually, I believe, still sitting in the ticket position right now. Yep.
What?
Surely they're aware of this, right? Like, surely they're going to drone this out, even with the mute jammer.
I mean, we already saw a kill come out from this position, right? So you'd be very surprised if he's not able to be spotted. Cameraman does find Asfi, and Citizen's already snuck on past. Yet they have no idea. They check for it. It turns out apparently Kino did know, but I was a bit worried there for a brief moment because it seemed like Cameraman was unawares. Thankfully, M80 have turned that 4 versus 5 now into a 4 versus 3.
I think Reap's overstaying his welcome a little bit there. You got your frag. You can roam back. There are already, 3 players on the top floor. You can pull back the white hallway and boost the overall setup, but he stays. M80 were, in fact, ready for it, and that's a pretty easy kill. The Monty rushes around the corner. Turds to, ooh, a bit of a cheeky vertical angle right there. Almost saw the feet of the Monty, but Kino will dodge it for the time being. M80 still lacking a direct way into the site, I will say. They're clearly gunning for, well, I would imagine, in execute into mining itself. They could run down white stairs as well. They certainly could backstab. Yeah, they've spotted one. This is a 4v2 right here. That's easy.
Wow. Tursta caught out of position. The Solus getting droned and yellow pinged is always a red flag. A lot of fire happening on the A stream from what I understand, but this game on B is also just as impactful. It looks like M80 might be able to confirm a 4-2 split in their favor. Exactly what the doctor ordered. A couple of rounds got away from them, but they won the half outright on their attack.
Won the half outright, certainly. Bleed also failing to convert that 5v4. They get the pick from Reaps early on, and then Reaps decides to stay upstairs in that position, and M80 thankfully do have the foresight. We were uncertain whether they knew it or not, especially given the beat jammer right there.
Because Cameraman was walking around at Pixel, like he didn't look aware.
Well, I mean, yes, he was walking around Pixel, but... And while they might have been unaware for it, it's the fact that they still thought to check it. It's not like Kino just happened on that position. He sprinted from the Sicard double around the corner. They might have just thought about it. They might not have planned to go for it. But Kino did think of it in that moment, did think to check, and he was rewarded because Reaps decided to stay there for a minute and a half. Then they catch Turdsta on the red stairs. There were a lot of individual 1v1s M80 were able to find.
So just on that, I noticed that Turdsta in the all chat a few moments ago typed, "My scanner is bugged." Can I make a request for a second?
Yeah.
Can people stop making excuses? I mean, maybe that was the case, but like, why is talking in the all chat, what is that going to achieve for you? I can kind of understand a little bit of like friendly smack talk because that's a bit of fun and in theory potentially like can be advantageous to you. What is the purpose of telling everyone in the lobby on your team and the other team that oh, my scanner's bugged or whatever? It's like just trying to excuse yourself, like, oh, I wouldn't have died if this. It's not helping at all. Just like focus on the game.
Well, hopefully Citizen, I guess, will be able to look for flank cams as he's taking the helm of the Solus. But
what if his Solus is bugged?
Well, I mean, what if these roamers get bugged? I mean, what if Spoit and Citizen just find themselves stuck? It'd really be kind of the most brutal combination to face a situation like that. Spoit on the Vigil and Citizen on the Solus.
But they got Monty.
They
got Dokkaebi.
They do.
They've both of them.
They've got ways to clear this. It's more so the fact that it's Spoit and Citizen being let off the leash by Cameraman, giving free reign on this roam to use their intuition, use their gun skill to make plays, and Spoit instead going back down to the site, and it's a similar story. Man, you have to clear Spoit behind long bar. You've got to clear Citizen out of coat check, two of the strongest positions on the first floor. It's a rough setup that Bleed will have to clear, even if their tools are very good, especially that Monty for this.
Very true. Now, it looks like Spoit's actually retreated back to site. How is that Vulcan detonated? It must have been shot somehow or perhaps naded out of position. Flash has gone out. I'm not sure what progress Bleed have made because it does look like they've been reasonably timid on this round so far.
They haven't really made a whole lot of progress. You mentioned the overthinking problem that Bleed have had this tournament. It's looked a little better, but how much thinking are you going to be able to do with only 2 drones alive right now? What intel are you going to find? The intel to now looking very great. Mentalist walks in, but there's a prox alarm right there, so he's got to back out immediately. There is nobody in coat check. He will confirm that with those Grim Bees. So we need to see progress on this bottom floor. Noodle trades with Reaps. Really nice stuff, but Spoit in the smoke to catch the Monty on the backstab.
He wants to go through that smoke, but Ashley is very aware of it. This could be a window open for Bleed, as they have made, despite a bit of a slow start, quite good progress here. Play it now in Coffee, I believe 2 potentially. I believe that is still Spoit here and Kino. Both of them very much like claustrophobic, locked in this position. Spoit tries to rotate a little bit. He wants to play around Whiskey, but he loses his head to Turdsta. A beautiful shot indeed.
They now can push their way into the backside. Kino's the only player actively holding this. He can get support from Citizen and Cameraman. And I'm not sure what the Vulcan Pack situation is over here. There's still one.
He's got to blow it.
He can detonate this right now. Oh, but he blocks it. He still gets it, and now the Monty's trapped.
The Monty has to go for the kill here. Kino has managed to fall back, and that does lose the position. He loses his life as well. M80 are on the ropes. Bleed looking very solid in their opening attack. But if there's anything to play for, it could be Citizen here. The hatch has not been opened. It doesn't give him a lot of options. Kino's still on the floor. One impact grenade is all that Citizen has. Bleed in a 4 versus 2 post plant. They're looking very solid now. Citizen's got no idea where to go, what to do. The Southeast Asian roster have locked in the site. They themselves have become the defenders. This Monty is going to harass Cameraman until the end of the line. There's just about no chance that M80 can make this work. Moving on forward. Not even going to be allowed a fight. Citizen does find his first one, but on a look at the clock, 13 seconds, 11, 10. It's going to take 7 to get that counter defuse, and he will not be afforded the opportunity. That is Bleed, another very solid round, getting within touching distance of M80.
Touching distance indeed. Solid Monty move. We're just spamming the Monty moment in chat from both of these teams.
They are really going in the old chat. That was 3 Bleed players in the old chat just there.
But it was good usage of the Monty. We talked about how they weren't making progress, and Bleed realized that. Say, okay, we got to clear this white shield guy. We got to push him back. And they do. They also smoke out the freezer doorway, so Spoit, if he wants to make a play, has to work in the smoke, has to catch a timing on the Monty. Doesn't do it, decides to back off, the safer option. But they've got a way in now. Even with that Vulcan pack detonated, the more important thing is with the man advantage Bleed have established, they wrap around a code check. They're able to take down Kino rotating back into the site, and they ensnare the bomb site overall, even if the Monty was put in a difficult position. So overall, a good attack from Bleed. Took a bit to get there, but they certainly found the right solution.
Yeah, they did indeed. And now they're within 1 round of M80. I still think that going up 4-2 in the first half is a nigh insurmountable challenge for Bleed to overcome. Like going down pretty desperately on their defense. Like they're quite a destitute half for them. They need to have an insane attacking side, and I just realistically don't think that's very possible for them. I hate to call it early, but I do think that if we end up seeing this be like a regulation 7-5, 7-4 win for M80, I think that we can really look to that first half and particularly those first 3 rounds and say that M80 really did the dirty work there.
I think definitely the 4-2 half is going to pay off really big for M80, but we've seen how well teams can perform if they know how to work around this Monty. I mean, Beast Coast won the North America League off the back of it. Knowing how to work that Monty, hot and cold on it, and knowing how to play around it. We see a lot of Shield teams really doing well as well. Obviously, SSG eliminated, but when they are at their ceiling and Force is playing that Shield, they also move very well around it. Dark Zero. I'm just rattling off NA teams, I realized.
I mean, everyone loves the Monty these days, more or less.
Exactly.
That's why it's strange that M80 actually decided to ban the Blitz instead.
Yeah, and here, I think Bleed could find a very good way back in if they're able to channel that Monty just as successful. But also, if they can get their individual fraggers popping off, which M80 did successfully. Remember, Spoit 5-0 at one point on the attacking side. Reaps is certainly having a good showing at this tournament, and he hops down the window, catches Spoit again.
Yeah, that was a very strange positioning from Spoit. Really caught off guard. Good reaction times from Reaps, and it's going to be a hard deficit to now claw back from for M80. 1 player down. Terz is on for a cheeky lurk here, and he's likely to find someone just around the corner from him. Indeed, yeah, his the ACOG housing did not help him out there at all, and Citizen does give him that 1v1. Bit of an unfortunate turn of events now for Bleed.
They still got the Monty that can maybe push up. Long bar would be the best option, I would guess. But what they really need to do is get some control around White Hallway, clear out the player from Bathroom, and then you can start getting a plant down either in Shaiko, maybe Trash if you want to as well, but this player in Bathroom has got to fall.
He's so close to being able to do that as well. The flashbang goes in, but the shotgun for Kino with the Warden, no less. He finds the double, looking for a third now. Mentalist taking low HP. I think Kino's won this round outright for M80. Hovering with it all to do, and he's got just about no chance. That's a very large magazine from Noodle.
They got the extended mag buff.
Damn. Dude chose his perks wisely. So, just to let you guys know what's happening, as you could probably have guessed, the round did not end correctly. The game crashed.
Wait, the entire server crashed?
I think the server crashed. I don't think it was just us. Like, we can see on our Observer PC, but yeah, the entire game crashed. It was a, what, 3v1 or a 4v1? So it'll be up to the admins to decide on what the result of that round is or whether we replay it, but we'll get that to you once we know, of course. For now, It's just a matter of getting us back into the server so we can finish off this game.
We can say qualitatively M80 won that round, no matter what the ruling was.
Okay. This is not, I speak not on behalf of the admins.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
not an admin.
I'm just a
But in my
22-year-old
mind,
corn boy.
that's M80's round. Like,
Yeah.
done. Like, there's no question. But if the admins have some rule that says otherwise, then that's up to them, and we'll just deliver that to you
that's the thing, right? I mean, there was a 5v1 the other day, and NGR happened to be the player remaining.
Yeah, you never know.
And he won it. You truly do never know, unfortunately. So
we'll hear what the admins have to say for sure.
yeah, we will. And what we can say about that round, of course, is, even though we had the nice play from Reaps right now, that team flash, man, pushing up White Hallway, it was going to be a difficult
Ironically,
engagement.
it was like a Warden, so it's not like, Reaps was flashed and the Warden wasn't.
But I think the important thing there is it wasn't really meant to flash the Warden. I believe it was meant to flash the Pallets player so Reaps could push up Whitehall, and then I assume with the Skeleton Key take the fight with the Warden. But the problem is you're with the Skeleton Key fighting a guy with the M59 who can protect himself from any of those flashes. So it was going to be a big 50-50 engagement. Not the best way to clear out Bathroom, but I think the identification from Bleed on what they needed to do was correct. It might not have worked out, but it certainly didn't work out because of that team flash. Reaps peeking into it, still committing to the swing as a result. The round could have hinged on that very engagement had Reaps won it, or in this case lost it, and M80 then have the way back in.
Since we got a second, why don't we check in on what's happening on the A stream game?
CAG almost went up match point first round of their defense.
BDS versus Cyclops on the third map in the series between them. We had a little bit of a score update that it was a very close 8-7 in favor of CAG on map 2. And yeah, spoiler alert, map 3 is looking like it's going to be CAGs.
Well,
imagine BDS get knocked out by 2 APAC teams.
It would. I think it genuinely would be the biggest upset in Rainbow Six history. I mean, you have CAG, which I think a lot of people were expecting to be gone by now, based on the seeding.
The deepest that they've gone for a very, very long time.
Very long time indeed, and people were predicting, I myself was predicting.
I'm also surprised that Scars are on the verge of elimination and CAG are here.
True. I mean, both the Japanese teams, still making somewhat decent runs inside of, not somewhat decent runs inside of Atlanta so far, especially with CAG coming in from Phase 1. And they were not only up 5-1, they could have potentially been up 6-1 if not for a very close clutch in BDS's first defense. No, BDS's first defense.
In this game, just going on the Oregon game? Wow.
So, we got 2 streams going, okay? Just because we're focused on the Bleed M80 game.
We're watching on the A stream on the laptop right now because we're curious.
If you think we're not going to keep up to date on what could be the biggest upset in Rainbow Six history, you, my friends, are trolling.
Maybe not the biggest upset in Rainbow Six history, but a pretty
okay, yeah. Well, actually, what would you rate higher?
Fnatic beating EG.
Was that a best of 3? I can't remember.
It was a best of 3 on stage in Rio.
And
with a coach.
Dizzle was subbing in. Okay.
I think that's a BDS round win just from hearing the players.
Yeah,
Our stream
CAG are
hasn't
very
caught
distinctive.
Up. Yeah, you
I can tell when they
tell.
I can tell.
That sounded like French celebration.
Yeah.
So we're actually going to watch a little bit of this A stream here.
Vamos.
On. To remind you, we are still playing Bleed versus M80. But, of course, the admins have to make a call about what's going to happen with that round. So while we do that, let's just enjoy seeing what has been such an insane game over on the A stream, BDS and CAG.
I want you and let's just watch this as fans right now. Let's not, do some...
Oh, you want me to watch this as a fan?
Okay, well, yeah, you're just going to scream every time CAG get a kill, be stone-faced and BDS get a kill. Go. By the way, something it was Yuzu's ace that round.
Up? What?
So not only did Yuzu's ace that round, if you guys have just really been glued to the B stream today, he had a 16.0 KD after map 1.
What?
16-1 on the first map, which I don't have the numbers. I'm not a statologist, but that's got to be the highest KD we've ever seen in the best of 1, right? 16-1.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever seen anyone go better than that.
It'd be difficult to get better than that, really.
Yeah, well,
how would you even do that?
What's the maximum number of kills you could get in a game? And the minimum number of deaths?
Well, I mean, I suppose, the minimum number of kills you could get is 30.
How many rounds was that game that he got 16 kills in?
I don't know. I was working this one. I was working the previous one. Scroll back up. Wikipedia time.
No, I can't see it. Oh, this is too much.
You gotta click the Swiss stage button, so you see the matches here. Yeah, you click that. Welcome to the Rainbow Six Bravo tech support.
Okay, it's
We're getting there.
Ones.
It's 1-1 right now. You gotta click on the match.
Click on that. 7-2. So 9 rounds. 16 kills over 9 rounds.
Yeah. So the max you could get in 9 rounds, assuming Yuzu's got every single kill, would be 45 kills.
You can only get it in 7 rounds. You can only get 5 kills in 7 rounds.
Oh yeah. Lost. Oh yeah. Sorry. So yeah, you could. So the max kills he could have gone if it was a 7-2 would be 43 kills.
Yeah.
And he got 16.
It sounds a bit ridiculous when you try and make that comparison, but still, like 16, that's insane.
He got a third of overall potential kills for one player.
Yeah, that is pretty.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, very.
And now they're down 4-5 to Kag. Could have been down 6-1.
All right.
He's 12-5 though. Good player.
Oh, what is this from Leak Effect? I don't like this. Come on, Sharif.
This is a clutch. No.
Sharif, look behind you. Look behind you, bro. Look behind you.
All right, well,
Unlucky.
that's just kind of poor from Keg. So you say, what is this from Licky Fact? He's always kind of roaming around on this map, especially over by the small tower side.
It's all right. Shaiko down. Shaiko down.
Shaiko's honestly been not having, I mean, when I say he's not been having the best stage, he's not been literally one of the best players in the world. He's just been good on BDS.
Our standards are that high for Shaiko.
I mean, he's literally one of the best players of all time. Like,
yeah.
He's graded on a different curve. Black Ray could win this one.
Come on.
Ray could win this 1v1. Solitov, unfortunately, I definitely think one of the weaker players on BDS.
Strange because he was probably the best player on
I thought,
M&M. Like, he was better than Usus back
I
in
was
the
genuinely
M&M days.
quaking in my boots thinking about the Solitov Shaiko duo. I was like, can you imagine Solitov dies and Shaiko's baiting him going 1-for-1? Like, you might as well just give up the early round.
Yeah, 90%. So, tell me, you're not from APAC, nor are you from North America, and it does look like it's going to be tied here, unfortunately.
I am from North America. What do you mean?
Sorry, you're not from Europe, so you don't have a vested interest in theory.
I do have a vested interest. I predicted the FaZe BDS final.
Okay.
So my ego's involved, which means it's very important.
Who do you want to win here? Not who do you think will win. Who do you want to win? Just bias, full bias. Just attack timeout.
Who do I want to win? I can't lie to you, I'm very conflicted, because I think Kag winning would be so funny.
I just love the idea.
It'd be so cool.
Just absolutely love the idea that an APAC team knocked out G2, and then 2 APAC teams knocked out BDS. I love that.
It really has been the APAC tournament, man. Like,
I was actually running the numbers earlier. About,
you did.
Like,
you should actually.
Haven't done it yet. I'm still going.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll let you crunch the numbers,
Please.
flip them over before you send them to me. This really has been the APAC tournament. It's been super impressive. I mean, we've been talking about regions like OS, like Japan. Well, mainly Japan and Korea, but OS as well. I mean, especially after kind of Fnatic dropped off and went and became a Japanese team. Kind of always saying, these regions are going to develop, these regions are going to develop. But I think the perennial question was, when are they going to develop? And don't get me wrong, I still think KAG are not exactly in insane form. But they're making decent runs. They're beating... It's kind of like ITB earlier. They're becoming teams where if their opponents are making mistakes, they can capitalize off of them and thrive when they happen. I think BDS have looked a lot weaker this tournament than they have been, but Talon was able to find it yesterday. They're now at the point when their opponents are faltering, they can call what's in front of them and exploit that mistake. KAG, similar story right here. BDS are underperforming. They're able to find ground in that. They're no longer getting stomped when they go up against some of the best teams in the world. We're saying that for even like some of the more untested NA teams. That Beast Coast game yesterday, sure, it's a best of one, but the underdog teams are really recovering. It started with GK Bleed in Atlanta, and Pandora's Box has now been opened up in Manchester.
Yeah. No, it's exciting to see. I mean, as much as I am APAC biased, obviously being from the region, I just love to see interesting events. And yes, for so long, like it's just the same narratives get spun, and it gets pretty tiresome. And I enjoy seeing like things be different. Like I enjoy that we went through a phase where it was always Brazil winning everything, and a phase where it was always G2/Penta winning everything, and then we had the rivalry between Empire and G2, and now we've got a bit of a rivalry between FaZe and W7M. I really enjoy all of this. Like I think that's what we should have.
I think also for the scene, there was kind of a period of time where, I mean, sure, Brazil was winning everything, but there was a time, a good couple years, where it didn't feel like there was anything really distinct to latch onto after the sort of G2 won, SSG won invite, but then weren't able to bounce back next year. Every tournament had a different victor. We had isolated narratives. I still think the Team 1 run in Mexico Major is one of the most insane storylines I've ever seen in esports.
CAG almost knocked him out, right?
Involved, yep. KAG involved in that first ever, and I still believe only tiebreaker match at a Tier 1 level.
Yeah, we've never had that before.
Yeah, and haven't had it since Team 1 then winning the Major off of it. But we've had isolated storylines, but with only one team making a deep run of the Major and then not doing anything afterwards. Team making a run at SI, not really doing anything afterwards. And then it was nice to have Furia come back and really have someone maintain consistency on the international stage. But also now that sort of Japan, Korea, OS are getting more competitive, now it feels like these tournaments, even if it might mean that a very unexpected team wins this event, and it might be a little unsatisfactory if Furia, FaZe, or BDS, but FaZe especially for me, don't win this tournament. The fact that can still latch onto the narrative that, hey, these regions we've all been excited about for 3 years are making a comeback, that's still something fun to do, even if the winner ends up being completely unexpected.
Oh, very true.
This is the Dev and Links podcast right now. We're just
I'm not minding it.
Pontificating.
I'm not minding it. I'm not minding it at all. I did have a bit of a comm from the director that we're working with, so he says that the admins are just making a final conversation with the captains, and then we'll get some information about what's happening
We'll
next
see
with
this
our
execute
game.
at least, I'd
But
assume.
yeah, I mean, we might get to see like, a match point delivered. I don't know. I feel like it should be CAG, maybe not anymore.
Well, let's see. So, yeah, Solotov's cleared out. Yeah, no,
definitely not anymore.
Match point BDS. Man, could have been 6-1 if they just clutched out that basement round. Would have been 6-4 right now had they clutched it.
Yeah, that's not happening, mate.
He's not hopped in yet.
No, it's just grim.
Yeah,
It's
no.
tough. Yeah. Oh well, BDS are looking very solid. I do wonder, like, how much can you guys at home hear the players? Because have you watched the stream?
Yes,
Carter?
well, you might not know this, but I know you were traveling. I was watching Phase 1
Ah, yes.
from my nice little office, my nice little home office in Indiana. And yeah, you can hear the players a little bit, not substantially. But if they're particularly loud, like, you know, Fettuccine or Cag were you know, decently loud, you can hear them a little bit.
Oh, nice.
Huge play from Solotov that round. 4K, as you can see. Unfortunately, Cag leaving a lot of gaps in their attacking setup.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think it's happening, buddy. I
think BDS have fired up a lot.
They have, but do you want to give like a little... Well, I mean, we don't want to give like a eulogy for Cag before they've been eliminated.
Mate, it's not done.
It's not. That's what I was going to say. That's why I stopped myself.
Calm
Dev,
down.
that's why I just stopped myself.
Calm down,
I
buddy.
caught myself, okay?
Good.
I stopped hating.
As you should. Sheesh, listen to this guy.
We've seen the player haters ball sketch from the Chappelle Show.
I have not
It's a
seen
great.
that.
Oh, it's a
Am
great
I missing
sketch.
out?
Oh, it's a great sketch. Donna got that song. What's it called? Papa Don't Preach. Well, I got a new one for you. It's called Daughter Don't Sing.
I'm so glad to be casting with you right now, man. I'm so happy.
Should I do the whole bit Parker and I did
Please.
on the way back from the shuttle
Yeah,
at SI?
please.
I'm not doing the whole bit. It's a 4-minute video. For context, if you don't know what we're talking about, it was after the SI after party, which, by the way, I royally trolled. The after party ended, and I had the shuttle to the airport literally an hour later.
Oh my god.
Huge blunder on my part. I did not get my own refrag. But Parker and I were on the way back, and we were just like chatting. It was like it was me, Jack, Ian, Parker, Emmy. I think that was it. And of course, the poor shuttle driver.
Yeah, my sympathies.
And Parker and I were arguing about, I don't know, something stupid. And then Parker's, somebody at the shuttle, I don't remember who it was, actually, just, like, chimes in and, like, throws this bit at us that we've been talking about. It's a YouTube video. It's a sketch between, it's the YouTube channel, Good Neighbor Stuff. That's the YouTube channel. And they just tossed it out, and we recited it for 4 minutes straight. It was a great time. Which, by the way, just got the call. Good time, because I really fumbled that story. My bad, guys.
I wasn't even listening, man, to be honest.
I know. But I do believe that we have the call. We are going to come back in just a little bit. Here we go. We've got Bleed back.
And we have the call that M80 has been awarded that round win.
Which, again, I think...
It's what we thought would happen.
It's what we thought would happen. And, of course, you know, there is the remote possibility that a 1v4 could happen. But 1v4s and 1v5s are extremely remote for a reason. They really don't happen all that much. That's why they stick out in the memory. So M80 will get that round win, as they were extremely successful in repelling Bleed's attack, which really... Aside from that individual play from Reaps that could have got a huge kill up White Hallway, that was the one thing that the round was really staked on for Bleed, and they didn't have a whole lot of options. After that, M80 just made it more apparent by winning every gunfight after that.
That's very true.
So the score now 5-3?
5-3 is where we sit here on Cafe, the first map. It's been pretty tight, but I think that round could be a bit of a breakaway moment for M80, right? We talked about how that first half being so dominantly in favor of M80 is a huge red flag for Bleed, right? Like, you're starting on your defense. You expect to get more than 2 rounds. Bleed failed to do so.
You're just a hater. Calling it a 4-2, Dev,
I'm a hater
against
of Bleed, am I?
SEA.
I'm a hater now. I'm an APAC
You are.
hater.
You're an APAC hater.
so
You're
I
a
get-
Bleed Southeast Asia hater.
So I get told that I'm incredibly biased and I don't have any valid opinions because of it, and then I get told that I'm an APAC hater.
You're a double agent, man. You play both sides. I know the game. I've read I've read it.
Sure you have, mate.
I see you. I see this. You might have the same. You might have almost the same patterned shirt as me, but I see you.
I have vertical stripes and you have horizontal.
Wolf in sheep's clothing.
And mine is much nicer than yours. My outfit today, I think.
I just heard the word overtime.
Really? Far out.
Who knows what that means? Maybe Abe just said it for no reason. Overtime, but it's a 7-5 victory. Who knows? Either way, we are back into this Bleed M80 game. We will have to focus on it as much as Dev and I will be checking the bottom of our screens to see what actually ends up happening.
Yeah, we will keep you guys informed as to what's happening.
We will.
on
I
the
mean,
other.
normally
it is overtime.
Yeah, normally I don't like talking about the other game on stream.
Me neither, but I'm so excited.
But yeah, but considering this could be one of the biggest upsets in Rainbow Six history,
It's-
I'll make an exception.
It's also because they're into map 3 overtime and we're into map 1.
We are on round 9 of map 1, and Dev and I casted a bit of a snoozer earlier with a very
if
strong
this ends
showing
up
from
going
East
like
Coast.
this, Bleed M80 game could well go map 3 overtime.
It went all 3 maps at SI. It was a
Exactly.
very, very close
There's
series.
a real rivalry between these teams.
Well, it's not really a rivalry. Bleed keeps beating them. But
I think
this
it's
is,
a rivalry.
That was just a reference to a meme. That was
Okay.
the meme is that this is not a rivalry. This team always beats us, I think is like the phrasing.
That's quite funny.
It is. I think it's pretty funny. For a long time, Beast Coast could not beat Mirage.
Wow.
So, anyway.
Can I just offer a little bit of insight from the producer, from our director? So, apparently, while the admins were deliberating, Bleed offered to concede the round. And that helped the admins make the call faster because, of course, if you could make an argument that Bleed could have technically won that round.
Of course.
Bleed offered to concede it. That's pretty wholesome of them.
Yeah, I mean, if
Good guy, Bleed.
Yeah, if they did that, that's obviously very, very nice. And
Not if they did that. That is.
oh, it is true.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry,
I'm telling you, the producer told me that that's what happened.
Oh, okay, sorry.
That's why we got to wrap it up.
I thought you were raising the question. My
No.
apologies.
Bleed did that.
Well, either way, I should probably start talking about the round because things are
Okay,
happening.
if you want, man.
No, I mean specifically me. It's my bad. We see Reaps inside a small bake right now, doing the glass play inside of the smoke, using the Monty to clear it
We
out.
could get one.
I was about to say, they haven't got a kill yet. All right, but now they've cut down Kino. So there is a way in for Asphie, but this prep player and this Yokai is going to be a big problem.
Ooh, I like
and the
that.
Grismot too.
Look at that. Usage of the Grismot from Noodle to try and concuss the Monty. He's using it to try and
That's
reveal
really
the
good.
Monty shield. It's genius, but it hasn't netted a kill as of yet. And dangerous to go for something so creative instead of something like a smoke that more convincingly keeps that Montaigne at bay. Noodle is now completely out of his 3 Grismots, and he's in a bit of a rough slog. There's a long angle from outside of Bakery, and so overcomes the Yokai from Cameraman to try and support, but Reaps will take down Noodle, and that pretty much puts M80 in the dirt this round.
Pretty much puts M80 in the dirt. They need Citizen and Spoit to get these kills, but what do you know? Hoven's
timing.
going for the clear.
Yeah, he's made it work as well. It was a little bit sketchy there for a moment. Spoiler's on for a big flank, though, and he might even find that he does get the better of Hoven, but not without a little bit of damage being done. It's now Spoit versus the world, and while he does tease out a little bit of vertical pressure, he does indeed go for a rotate. Mentalist can go deep, look to force the plant, but what?
Wait, hold on. What?
What?
Attackers recovered the diffuser.
Oh! Okay, well, I'll explain that in a second, but for now, well, there you go. Round is over. Wow. That was a good catch from our observer who just told me over the voice comms. Thank you, Easy. He's laughing about that. So there was a Flores drone in the drone hole outside that had been jammed by the mute jammer.
Oh!
So Mentalist jumps on over, shoots the mute jammer, and starts planting next to the drone hole. The Flores drone, no longer muted, detonates and kills him. That is ludicrous.
That reminds me.
I thought that was a bug. That is absolutely cooked.
Well, that reminds me. I remember Jesse actually made a video about this on TikTok. There was a cafe game that DZ played, and Canadian was using a Rotero drone on the roof and sent it into the building, but he drove it in and detonated the Rotero drone, but I think it kept going or something. I can't remember what. Yeah, I think it kept going, or it got jammed on top red on Cafe on this map actually.
Yeah.
And he hopped down new balcony and walked up to the door, and in the time it did, he walked right as it detonated and it killed him.
Oh, that's
so
amazing.
it doesn't often happen, but Rotero drone mishaps like that are extremely funny. But that was the most exciting thing that really happened that round, I will say, because Well, I'm not saying it was bad. Don't get me wrong. I'm not about to hate on Bleed or M80 for that matter. We see a nice entry from Reaps into Small Bake. We see the follow-up pressure from the Monty. If the Grismont Mons had actually killed the Monty, that would have been exciting as well.
Cool, yeah.
But they just pinch Noodle after that. They've got clearance into the site. They also send Hoven above for vertical control. Coming out of the tech pause, it was just a very well-played execute from Bleed.
We're looking to leverage that Monty again now, but of course bomb site has changed. We're going over to reading. M80 very close to locking out this game, but it's been a real tug of war back and forth. And Bleed have used the unorthodox technical break to reset the mental a little bit, and I think it's worked well for them, because that round that we did end up having to rehost, that was not a tight round, right?
No,
it was
not at
very
all.
much open and shut case in favor of M80, like a 4v1 at the end of it when the game eventually crashed. And so for Bleed to come back from that looking very much motivated, looking very reset, it's a very good sign for them.
Now looking. Whoa, hold on. Looking.
Hold on.
Very good. There we go. I'm looking to see what Aspie can do with this Monty in this round, because we've seen a lot of pressure applied by M80, by Bleed. It's been a mainstay for both of these attacking strategies, and he's using it very similarly right here that M80 did and Bleed have done previously, to push in, take control, pressure the players off-site. We actually have a similar setup overall that we saw in M80.
Oh, what's
but
this?
Mentalist, I was about to say, repelling in. Nice pre-fire onto Noodle.
Very effective there, but Spoit doesn't allow this to go down without a fight. Good vertical play from Citizen with the C4. Spoit finds a second and falls back towards site. No doubt about who's won that roam game. It was all M80.
Really good retake by M80 there. Mentalist with that pre-fire, anticipating a very commonly held position. I like that play, but we see the players stomp up white stairs, and the fact that they're able to win those fights and then pull back down. Bleed at the control. They were actively taking control of Cocktail as a whole.
Nice.
Reap's able to find one of the vertical angles, so very, very nice. And as you can see, reading a bit clear right now. Nobody actually playing inside of it, and that is where the bomb site is. We see one white, we see one Jan in there, and okay. Now, no, Spoit actually down below. So M80 positioned not only for the retake of the bomb site, but specifically the retake of the bottom floor. Once Bleed commit to the execute, we'll see them use this man advantage and send Kino up top to retake this vertical control.
No Gone 6, I suppose, for Reaps there. Very difficult now to try and clear out that position up top. There's always information here for M80. Kino's getting pretty aggressive here on the white stairs as well. He's so close to Reaps, and he does get the better of him as well. Bleed now down to just one. M80, after that break, looking pretty composed. Good nade from Turd, but the swing from Cameraman locks in match point for M80.
Just consistently looking better, our M80. The gun's just a little bit sharper. The coordination also there. We've seen good of the latter from both teams. You know, Bleed in 2 rounds ago. M80 in that round pushing back up white stairs. But with that 4-2 lead, with just looking, again, a little bit more consistent overall, Bleed have these good moments, and then they suddenly have an extremely dominant loss. That M80 are just able to retake completely. We'll have another tech pause right now, as I believe it's Cameraman having an issue with one of his PCs, or not with the PC. Could be headphones.
Okay, we're watching
Could be keyboard.
BDS versus CAG on our second monitors right now, and it is match point BDS. 2v3.
This is...
I can hear some cheers.
Ooh.
Where our feed is behind what we're hearing the cheers about.
That's true, so we technically...
Can you hear the casters? What are they saying?
Well, no, I'm listening to you talk. I'm hearing slaps, so I believe that means BDS won. It was kind of deeper shouts.
Okay,
Ooh.
Shaco's dead. It's
Surely not a Brede 1v3.
just Brede versus 3. I reckon CAG are going, we're going all the way. It's ironic that Ace isn't here to call us into ultimate overtime.
I mean,
yeah.
there's no way Brede wins this. There's no way.
There
Yeah,
you
he
go.
doesn't.
There you go. Map 3, 15 rounds required. CAG have pushed us the absolute distance.
Absolute distance indeed. One final round. Literally, one round decides if BDS stays at the major or can go forward.
That's insane.
You could just have...
You know, we say, oh, you know, this was a best of 3. Now it's a best of 1. We're up to the final map. This is a best of 1 round now.
This is like the even worse thing, because you could literally have like a pretty great round from BDS, and then like, I don't know, Anaton just drops like a massive 4K and you lose.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, I think BDS are the ones that are favored now because they've got defense, but presumably they'll be going to Dorms, which is an unfavored side, but we already saw a Dorms defense win from them a couple of rounds ago when we tuned in, so yeah. We still obviously have this technical pause. I'm actually not sure what this technical pause is for.
Dev.
This one.
I'm a believer now.
What? What?
What do you mean what? What did we talk about for 5 minutes?
What?
Who do you want to win in this matchup, and who did I say I wanted to win?
I want CAG to win.
Yeah, who
Obviously.
did I want to win?
BDS, I guess.
And I've just said I'm a believer now, so what do you think that entails?
You want BD? You reckon you believe that BDS can win?
You're trolling me, like this smile on your face. You're literally trolling me.
Well, I guess our tech pause is done. So
I hate you so much.
technical pause is done. We're back into the game. Forget about CAG versus BDS because M80 versus Bleed is on match point as well on the first map.
Map point.
Map points. Yes, not match point. I'm be real. Like I am also going to be keeping my eye on the score of the other game and likely reacting to it during this cast.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I think part of the reason why that is as I mentioned as we were going into the tech pause, this has just been a little bit better of a game from M80. They have consistently been the better team throughout this map.
First half was so good.
Yeah, which you would expect from their map pick. The first half was so good, and Bleed, to their credit, I think have looked decent on the attacking side. But it's just been a 60-40 game. M80 in the lead, not by much, but certainly in the lead. And now on the defense, we've seen Spoit, Kino, Noodle, really everybody so far this game has been having decent moments. I think especially Citizen, Spoit, and Noodle, the 3 highest rated players on M80 at the tournament, and the 3, I would say, most impactful players in this matchup for M80 so far. On this defense as well, if Bleed are going to be concerned about the players around the Monty dying and losing 1v1s to M80, there's 3 sharp players on this NA squad, or NA team EU squad, that have just been hitting their shots in this series.
I do feel largely like M80 kind of won this game in that first half, finding 4 attack rounds, starting so strong with 3 in a row. And now they're on their defense. It's not been all sunshine and rainbows, but it's been pretty damn good. Bleed have looked a little bit rough around the edges on their own attack. They had one really good one onto Kitchen, but it's not been perfect.
No, it's not been perfect at all. Again, good moments, decent ideas, but rounds that also come down to very, very small things. Reap's trying to push up Whitehall, that really being the only solution Bleed had in that round, pushing Cocktail. Dominant losses across the board. That 4v1 we were talking about that spawned the long tech pause or the long admin deliberation. M80 just looking a little better. Minute 15 seconds in to mining defense at the moment. I can't focus. I'm literally, I feel jitters based on what could happen in the other game.
Yeah, I mean, I can just hear Emmy like screaming behind us casting, and I'm like, our feed is so far delayed, and I don't know who's winning.
Reap's back in Whitehall right now. Noodle. Sorry, I heard one more chance to survive. I didn't hear who won.
I think it's BDS.
No!
I think BDS won.
Okay, I gotta go back in this game. I gotta go back. I gotta focus.
Okay.
Minute 15 seconds. 5v4 established for Bleed. They have this Monty. They should be able to, I think, aim for a mining execute here, considering the vertical control they've established, and a lot of these defenders are pushed back to white stairs and reading at the moment. Reaps, if he gets this backstab, this absolutely could be 6-5 for Bleed.
Come on, Reaps.
I was BDS. I'm sorry, buddy.
Unfortunate. But still a chance for APAC here in this game against North America. This NA, EU, Brazil hybrid. Spoit's been droned on out. Sees the Monty, but the Monty sees him. He's not sure how to play this. How close does he get? Bit of a dance with death. As Hoven looks to try and support from down below. Time is ticking away from Bleed. They're not overcommitting to anything as of yet. Spoit's looking very ready, but he's feeling a hell of a lot of pressure. He's got a Monty up in his face. Hoven takes him on down. And maybe Bleed indeed can come back, but here's another flank. It's Kino coming up from behind. Citizen found his as well. The rappel inside just meets Kino. Not enough bullets to continue the spray, but Cameraman, the other Brazilian, should be able to support. Kino's gone massive this round. 3 kills for him. He might be able to send M80 through. He's done just enough. M80 take the first map at Cafe, thanks to some heroics from Kino.
Unfortunately, a good pinch on white stairs by Bleed, but what did I say? The individual performances from M80, the rotations, the decision-making, the gun skill, they just looked at home on Cafe, and it really was a 60-40, a 7-4. Somewhat close, but M80 taking their pick and most certainly looking like the better team on it. We've got Oregon up next. We still have Bleed coming up, but ultimately, you and I definitely very high on M80 that game.
Very much. That was
map.
M80's. That was M80's game to lose. Like
Yeah,
the whole way through. You win your first
4-2 on attack.
Win your first 3 attacks. You get a 4-2 split. You're looking very solid. We had a hell of a lot of tactical timeouts, and that really presented quite a few issues for Bleed. Like just the momentum game was such a challenge. In the end, M80 are looking like they're in much better form than the previous events where they've versed Bleed.
Considering that they're now positive in the series.
Yeah, well, you know, they're not getting absolutely smoked. It certainly helps. And I think the momentum that they got in the ITB game with that 7-0 certainly would have helped. On the flip side, you know, Bleed, obviously, they previously played against the world champions Furia and were battered about a little bit in that game. They're looking to build up their confidence. It's now been quite a few games in a row that Bleed have lost out. Now they still have a chance to make main stage. They need to continue fighting against M80 here. The winner of this game does qualify to play in front of the crowd here in Manchester. Of course, the loser doesn't immediately go out. They get a second chance yesterday, but you still want to fight for that early slot here.
You want to see some capitalization of that potential. Bleed again going out 2-3 in Atlanta. CAG now just going out to BDS. Bliss could very well find themselves also in that 2-2 position depending on what happens in that DZ game. So for the broader narrative of kind of the underdogs that are really getting success this tournament, you want to see Bleed come back in this series. And I think, Dev, to be fair, something you said earlier, Cafe, not exactly a map Bleed have had a lot of great results on. Oregon now being the follow-up. Maybe we don't see this exact game. And I think the biggest positive I have is even though they lost, everyone from Bleed was really showing up except Asfi, who was in Monty jail the entire attacking half. So 2-9 a little more understandable. But Turd putting in a decent performance, everyone bouncing around between 7 and 9 kills. It's not like they're completely asleep at the wheel, out of energy, and that M80 ran over them. There was some stuff, just hopefully it'll be the comfort factor that makes the difference on map 2.
Very much so. Oregon is coming up next, so don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Bleed versus M80 here. We've seen Cafe go down in favor of the North American roster, but of course it's not a done deal yet. That was just the first map and it was their map pick. Bleed do have a chance to fight back and continue their undefeated streak against this M80 roster.
Yeah, absolutely. With their map pick of Oregon coming up, which they've got some really good results on in their history. Sure, they got a win over Talon yesterday. That was very, very close, but a really good showing against the world champs a couple months ago at SI. This is a map that is very, very comfortable for them, but also very, very comfortable for a lot of teams in the world. Oregon is kind of a default map for a reason. M80 got one of their first big wins in this game, a comeback against the Sonics in the regular season when the Sonics were still looking in very good form and didn't kind of collapse as they did midway through the season. So it's also a map that all these players will have played, all feel very comfortable on. That's why Oregon, in my opinion, can sometimes be kind of a risky map to pick. A lot of teams know what to do on it. A lot of teams are prepped for it. It could be a good decider, but Bleed, so comfortable on it, they do want to pick it, and it's where we're going to look to see them even it up, as you said.
Yeah, but of course we did see M80 beat ITB 7-0 on this map very, very recently.
Literally yesterday.
Yeah, so it's not a map that M80 are going to be upset to see. I guess Bleed have had a little bit of time to try and do some counter-strat work on it, but I'm not too concerned for M80. I think that after winning the first map, they got momentum on their side, and moving into the second map, this should be an opportunity for the North American roster to qualify for the main stage here in Manchester. Of course, Bleed have historically always beaten out M80, but with this new look roster, it seems like the European Brazilian concoction could indeed take the fight to the Southeast Asians. Let's dig into the second map. Bleed's pick, it is Oregon.
And Bleed also starting on the attacking side. So if you're worried about anything close to that 7-0 happening again, M80 starting on Oregon defense the side they went up 6-0 on against ITB yesterday. So history could very well repeat itself, as Bleed also been the recipient of not one, but 2 7-0s so far this tournament, albeit within the same series against SSG back in Phase 1. Still a bit of a daunting prospect, though, that they could face, especially if M80 not only could get a favorable ban phase, but also specifically if they just start out hot and shooting straight on their defensive side. In the game against ITB the other day, M80 banned Deimos and Fenrir. They've already changed strategy. They've banned out the Blitz, which can get a lot of use on Oregon.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, though, to see that Blitz ban like 2 maps in a row now from M80, where Bleed were actually leveraging that Monty to quite a bit of success, which has, by the way, slipped on through. Historically, M80 are a bit of a fan of that Monty ban. We've seen it quite a few times, sometimes banned against them. ITB banned it against them on this map where they played yesterday. Now it's been slipped on through. The Kaid going out. What's the final roundabout for? It's a Fenrir. Okay, so Mira is still in.
Azami still in, Solus
yeah,
still
Solus
in.
is still in. Yeah, a lot of big hitters. Valkyrie.
Azami really the big one for me on this map. Because, like, Solus, really good at roaming, but roaming, you got to have a really specific intention, really specific vision with it, or you overcomplicate sites like basement.
It's a smaller map.
Yeah, exactly. And you overcomplicate things very quickly. Whereas Azami basically doesn't shut down an E-box drop, but makes it really hard, and can sometimes force teams into a front side take. On Attic, or on dorms, really useful for holding the trophy position. Azami can almost do it entirely by herself, maybe with some magnets to catch projectiles, or a mute jammer to stop Rotero drones. Can basically make 2 entire bomb sites way, way better for the defense just by her presence being there. But of course, that's, I'm sure, one of the many reasons why M80 did not bring Azami in the first round, and have actually brought the Vigil, an operator that really you probably are going to use on the roam.
Very much so. Bit of an unusual pick, but I wouldn't discount Noodle. I mean, he's been phenomenal so far in this series. On that first map, he was by far and away the best player, 129 EPS, really big hitter on the opening kills, got 12 kills to just 7 deaths overall. Yeah, like we said, 3 of the M80 players are in the top 10 of the tournament so far at Manchester. So M80, if a player wants to pick something and go for it, then I would 100% back him in.
Plus, you got at least 1 round. You don't need to go 6-0 up on Oregon defense every single time. Of course, if Bleed do get a basement win by extension, that could very quickly spiral, especially since this is their pick. Ooh, Boss G Hollow. Interesting choice. Not the K1A.
I'm surprised that people actually go for this Boss G.
To be fair, I mean, I also am a bit surprised by it, but it is like a one shot down to the body.
Yeah. Still, I mean, you've got to finish that off a lot of the time.
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oven going to be the main person hunting for him right now with those Inox scans. Kino put to very low HP as one player moving around the bunker double door. Noodle now dropping down the back tower stairs. I think this is smart. You hear the Dokkaebi call come out. And Reaps pushing down, shooting the freezer cam, backing out. Bleed, not really facing any problems with this roam. They scare Noodle back with the Dokkaebi call. He moves back down to the site. And this is where the pick of the Vigil can sometimes be a little difficult because you want to use him to have impact on that roam, but by bringing the Vigil, you've not brought an Azami. You've not brought a Smoke. You now just have a guy playing on the site with not exactly the best gun in the world if you miss one or two of those shots.
Yeah, I mean, especially with the Holo, like, this is pretty average weapon. You really have to be quite good at it. Of course, like we said, Noodle's been great, so I won't fault him. And this is a very difficult bomb site to attack, even at the best of times. Now, Bleed, they've got map control. They're starting to open up these hatches. It remains to be seen where their eventual push will look to go down, but they've got a lot of options, particularly the Capitao. You've also got smokes on the Jackal. There is a Warden on the board with the Spoit, with Spoit picking it, so I would be a little bit concerned about where that's coming from. Kino just gets aggressive up the rear stairs and takes down Asfi. Now, that's the Capitao. That's the majority of your utility to look for an execute, already taken down.
Especially with the absence of a Grim, you want to use those firebolts to make sure nobody can push up long haul and shoot at Reaps when he's dropping down E-Box hatch. You also want to use it to stop the bunker position. With that gone, you're really just using the Deathmark trackers and the one Dokkaebi call you've just now used to try to make it, and there's still Goyo packs in your way.
Oh, nice shot, though, from Turdster. Long one, but Noodle's big for it. Him and Kino spring up, and it's quite an easy lockout for M80. Fired up once again. Very solid defensive round. Not quite a look-in for Bleed.
And Noodle got a Boss G kill, so he justifies the whole thing.
Of course.
He brings the Boss G, gets the kill, and I mean, to be fair, in hindsight, he does justify it by getting that kill. M80 overall, just a solid defense. The tools Bleed had, coincidentally, given the presence of the Vigil, actually very good for a roam clear. We have the Inox scans with the Jackal. We've got the Dokkaebi
I don't think
calls.
that was a coincidence. I think that was their intention. It meant that they lacked anything, though, for the execute.
Well, but that's exactly what I was going to say. Like, sure, yes, it was their intention, but it's like, oh, they bring the operators, they scare back the Vigil, which M80 wanted to play. That's all well and good. And then once they lose the Capitao, it's like, no Grim.
Yeah.
All the Dokkaebi's used.
No,
not a lot of flashes.
Ying's banned.
No
No Monty.
Smokes. No Monty. Yeah, they were
No
real.
nades.
And so, and that's when I think coincidentally technically isn't accurate, but that's why I said it is, okay, they anticipate a heavy roam on basement, which to be fair, M80 were getting very aggressive in their game against ITB. One example, in round one on basement, Spoit was playing in dorms and took down one of the players in the roam clear. So I think they anticipated that same roam from M80, but then once it's not there, because you committed to that operator selection, you brought the Jackal and the Dokkaebi, what do you have when it's just a 5-man hold on site?
Well, there's a lot of footage out there for Bleed playing this map. They've already beaten PSG Talon. They lost it to FearX so far at the Major. And these teams actually did play each other on this map at SI. It was a 7-5 in favor of Bleed. Obviously very different M80 roster back then. But historically, this has been one of Bleed's best maps. They're on a bit of a streak with it, with the exception of that FearX game. You know, if you don't count that, they're on a 5 or 6 game win streak. But of course, M80 looking very organized. They've done some good VOD work. Spoit's feeling a bit of pressure now. He's highly aware. He's also got some support from up in Big Tower to spray through that window and afford him the ability to forfeit the control.
Such a good setup for M80, by the way. Well, really not just because it fits the way they want to play Oregon. They want to contest that space heavily, and so it really makes sense that they want to go for this master bedroom aggression with the shotgun close on bedroom door, the Azami inside a trophy, holding down this position, putting Spoit on this operator. Also a really nice call from M80 in the strat, so very, I think, sensible play right here, and then also having the Solus on the roam. I'm curious how much Bleed are going to be ready for this. They brought the Jackal and the Dokkaebi because they were concerned with the roam last time. They don't need it this time, but are they aware of the possibility of Noodles going on this roam?
It's going to work. I think he's revealed his position. No, both of them are droning still, so they're not seemingly aware of it. Bleed are looking very slow, looking very stalled. And I haven't seen M80 really break a sweat so far at all. Bleed haven't made a lot of progress.
No, they haven't, and when you're thinking about what progress are they going to make, well, they've only got one hard breacher who's put 2 Selmas on the attic wall, and sure, bedroom wall is open, but there's pocket reinforcements. Cameraman can reinforce this off if he wants, especially since there's nobody actually outside of the bedroom balcony right now, so I don't really know exactly what Bleed want to go for execute-wise at the moment. It seems they're just trying to hit lurks.
Oh, well, if Reaps does find a kill or two on this lurk, it would be big. But meanwhile, Citizens found his, and M80 just so completely aware of these lurks, and Citizens now going for a bit of a roam. After finding one kill, Reaps doesn't have the read on him, and, well, at least, I guess, Bleed have found something, but a kill onto Cameraman, clearing that player in games, is not going to be near enough. Hover needs to go very big here from his position. There is, thankfully, already the wall opened on game, so it does open up an opportunity for Bleed, but time's ticking away. They got to go big. Diffuser is far from home. Another smoke to go down. Mentalist falls, and that does mean the Diffuser's on the ground. A very significant numbers advantage now for M80 as Bleed look to pick up the pieces. Tursa finds one. Sprinting on through the smoke is Citizen. Open and shut case again for M80.
Bringing the right tools for the job if there was a roam for M80 in the first round, and then in the second round, really not bringing the relevant tools. Not necessarily, you know what? I was going to be a little more negative. Let me nuance this a bit.
Oh, wow. Did you see that?
What?
Table slam from Reaps.
Wow, I actually did not see that. Jesus.
Wow. Was that? I'm pretty sure that's what that was.
Wow.
Wow. I mean, he's a man that barely shows emotion when he plays, but I mean, tactical timeout called by Julio. Pretty glum faces here on Bleed. Like, you think about the Atlanta Major and what they were renowned for. It was that energy, and we're not seeing that at all. This is the first map they went down 0-3. Second map so far 0-2. But it's not just the scoreboard. It's the nature of how they're looking that is concerning. I mean, Reap's not even making eye contact with Julio there. Julio's doing everything he can to fire up his squad.
And also paying particular attention to Reaps there. I mean, didn't go over to the other players and do the same tap. I think recognizing that, I mean, the highest rated player on Bleed right here, getting a little bit tilted, definitely something you got to be concerned about. Yeah, look at that. I mean, it's understandable, right? Like, this is kind of what I was going to hit on, which is...
The table? No, that was Reaps.
that was clever of you. That was funny.
Thank you, mate.
But something I was going to hit on, which was... You see the strat called, and it's okay. You want to go for a master bedroom attic take because there's a hole in the wall, but you rotate over to attic with only one hard breacher, and Cameraman's just alone to sit by bedroom. Sure, you have Hoven lurking, but nobody's on bedroom balcony. You're just hoping that Cameraman rotates in front of trophy, and Cameraman isn't really incentivized to do that because he's not facing pressure from bedroom. He does actually end up doing that, so Hoven gets that kill, but you don't have anything other than that. You just have Reaps walking up white stairs.
Yeah, meanwhile, two players die down to the kitchen room.
Exactly. Citizen just running around, no flank watch. Sure, maybe we could attribute that to Bleed overthinking, but really it's Bleed also not setting things up and thinking ahead enough even.
Yeah. Well, this round is where you always get a bit of a look in if you're in attack, right?
It's the cliche we bring up.
Yeah. You're moving on to the tertiary bomb site. Like, the win rate of the primary two sides is astronomical compared to this, well, both of the tertiary options here for defense. And that's why it's just so important for Bleed to win here. Like, if they lose here, honestly, the series may be just about done. M80 had a 3-0 lead on the first map, and they converted that to a fairly convincing 7-4 victory. Even though Bleed are now on their attacking side, I would really hazard a guess that if we see history repeat itself here, I wouldn't be surprised if M80 can cruise through an easy 2-0.
I would agree with that. I mean, especially since they're able to convert that, a potential, well, I suppose not a potential, a 6-0 start against ITB yesterday into one attacking victory, 7-0. It's very, very possible. And that Sonics game I mentioned earlier is a game one on the attacking side for M80.
Very true.
They have good attacks on this map, and again, great individual players if maybe the strats aren't succeeding as well as they wanted. Selma Charge destroyed, I believe, by a bandit battery right there, if I saw it correctly. Oh, Mentalist
wow, that's
damage.
A huge amount of damage.
Oh, Jesus.
What's going on?
He's literally... Asfi hit his Monty with a lifeline and then died to Kino.
Wow. Some serious disjointedness here for Bleed. Now, Kino taken low, but not taken out as of yet. This player way outside the white window is trying to cut off the retreat. It's Hoven. He can deal a lot of damage with this ARX. A good flash, but look at that from Classroom. Citizen gets active. Finally, Bleed find their first pick. Good for Mentalist. Very good initiative, and much needed as well. Terse is able to heal him up a little bit with that Finker. 3v3, very achievable. But we know how much Bleed need to win this round.
They've spotted Kino. This is the player that they could exploit the Monty around the corner. Oh, but he's able to fall back. The benefit of taking out Hoven on that bottom white window earlier. They have immediate control of the site, though. But Citizen singular C4. Oh, but he's taken down. This could be the round.
That's exactly what they needed. info on Kino now, low HP, as Mentalist looks to force him on back. And a good pre-fire from Reaps. The smack in the table, now he's smacked down cameraman. Kino in a 1v3, and it looks nigh impossible. Turst has got him on lock. The conversion of the tactical timeout is everything Bleed were looking for.
Yeah, Reaps definitely still looking a little unhappy.
Wow, that is some serious tilt, man.
Oh, wow.
Is he angry at his team? Or is he angry at the game? That's what I can't read. Wow.
I could vaguely hear Mentalist a little bit earlier, which is why I was silent right there.
You say anything interesting?
Well, no, that's why I stopped talking. I was like,
Couldn't hear him this time.
I heard something for a brief second. It looks like tilt right there. That looks angry.
And they won the round, right? 3v0.
Well, and this was something I was going to bring up. I mean, honestly, thank you, Reeves, for looking angry there, because I have a reason to talk about this. This is in the promotion game. They're not out of the tournament if they lose this.
No. But I think it harks back to what we were talking about a little bit before. Like in Atlanta and even in SI, like Bleed were underdogs. Every win that they got was like, oh, you know, these guys are getting paid, la la la. We're, you know, down in
It's like Mentalist said when they beat Sonics, we should go to NA and get the bag, no?
Yeah, exactly. And now, like, I feel like the expectation has risen quite a lot for Bleed. Like, in a way, they are the favorites in this match because they've beaten M80 every time they've played. Very different M80 roster now, and Bleed have finally gotten over the hurdle of Fury in their local region as well, so like, they are without doubt the best team in Asia now. But that extra pressure is proving to be a little bit more of a hindrance than an aid.
And, you know, to also contextualize that round, I mean, it was a 3v5 that Bleed had to win, with Mentalist pushing up the Showers hallway, getting that kill inside of the site, and then eventually pushing Kino back too.
That's the kind of round where you should be like fist bumping your teammates and smack talking the enemy team after you win that.
Yeah, I mean, they did win the 3v5, but I suppose the way I'm taking it is, I mean, Asfi also Zofia lifelined his Monty, putting him to 50 HP, then immediately died afterwards. Halvin also getting shot from the classroom window. Again, flank intel a little lacking for Bleed. There are still problems in their attack, even if, as you rightfully pointed out, you won the 3v5, and that's still exciting that you came back from that two-man deficit. Going to basement now. If they can win this, this really should be the one that would regain the momentum. It's basement, even if it's a 1v1. If you're able to win here, that feels fantastic. Oh! And Mentalist, the Hibana, has been caught by a quick run-up by Citizen on Laundry Stairs.
Very aggressive from Citizen. I'm not sure. I think that he timed that with the hatch in Laundry opening as well, so quite an aggressive play from him, and that will punish not only Mentalist, but it punishes the amount of flashbangs available, and I guess the leadership a bit as well. Asfi's going to get desperate. He drops down. He finds his man. Can't find a second one, and his teammate falls as well. A desperate attempt from Bleed, but it does not find any merit whatsoever. 2 versus 4. They have lost all momentum in this round.
What do you even do here? You got the Dokkaebi calling the Deathmark trackers, I suppose, but what 1v1 are you going to isolate on basement? Well, not that one.
Kino's been very good today. He does get traded on back. All up to Reaps. I can only imagine what he's thinking right now. Viv is getting very excited as well. M80 looking very calm, like this is just another day in the office, but Bleed in contrast. My God, what a... I don't even have words for this. Like, what is going on with Bleed? This is not the energy we expect out of him.
Well, that's what I'm curious about, because why the hot drop?
I think it was just desperation. Asfi's like, oh, Mentalist is dead with 4v5. Time to just go for it.
I mean, I guess, but... And he did get the kill pillar, I'll give him that, but you're in the 4v5, you're hot dropping E-Box. That's not exactly a position that's going to catch M80 off guard, especially when you've got 3 players around that usually. Maybe 2 at a minimum. 1 long haul, 1 the bunker single door, and then probably 1 inside of sight as well. And then they're immediately traded out. I get the call to kind of speed up the pace. In isolation, I get that call.
But M80's reading that. Like
that's exactly. That's what I mean. They're reading the E-Box drop.
That's the kind of play that works well against nervous teams. And M80, like you saw the face cams, they barely celebrated that round because they're just so chill. Like they're in their element. This is just another day in the office. Like there's a mental warfare. There's an inner game going on right now, and
M80 are winning it.
Bleed are miles behind.
Yeah, they're getting lapped in the mental race by M80 right now.
And it's not even like
100%.
M80 are doing anything to make that happen.
No.
They're just playing their own game, and Bleed are tripping over themselves.
And specifically, M80 are playing their own game. Not in just that they're focused on their own defenses, but they're doing similar stuff, not necessarily strategically, but individually that they did against ITB yesterday. You know, retaking positions, contesting laundry stairs, getting aggressive when the attack doesn't expect. This is just them playing to their strengths, playing their own game. As you said, interesting thing, we're not going to dorms, as you can see. We're going
tertiary
to
site.
tertiary site meeting. I think, honestly, we kind of talked about this a lot, probably just to catch Bleed off guard. I think on Oregon, you get very comfortable in that site rotation. You think it's going to be basement dorms tertiary, basement dorms tertiary, but they go meeting instead, which Bleed have not attacked yet. And we have another case of Citizen being in the wind on the roam. Will Bleed have another lapse in intel and let Citizen get away with something? If they do, this could very well be a 5-1 half, because it doesn't seem like they'll be able to fix that issue in 2 rounds.
You talked about a lapse of intel for Bleed, but not only is there a lot of tools on the M80 side to encourage that, the Solus and the Mute, but also a lot of information gathering in Citizen's Valkyrie and Spoit's Solus, which are both great for making plays, which we know that M80 like to do. We've seen Citizen do so already in this series. Huge checkbox now ticked, though, is opening up the main breach onto the bomb site, and I'm not sure what util that was, perhaps Zafir's lifeline, maybe a Flores drone or something, to clear some of these keeper barriers and expose some of these positions. But a plan could potentially be on the cards very soon here.
A plan could be on the cards, but the big concern I have is actually this Kiva barricade on the left side. It'll allow the Bandit to walk up and C4 stage from behind it. If Reap still has one Rotero drone, that should be the one he's prioritizing. And now opening the hatch, yeah, they could C4 from below too.
Yeah, Citizen's got that. Spoit's on for a flank. Is anybody watching this? Surely, Asfi, it's been a bit of a rough game for you so far, but you need to come up now. They don't know whether to hunt. They don't know whether to cover. There's so many avenues to watch out for. They don't fully have control up above. We've still got Noodle here in Attic, but M80 know to just bide their time.
I realize, by the way, Cameron does not have a C4, but
It doesn't matter. Citizen's got one. Noodle's
that's
got
what I was
one.
going to say. Citizen down below with this hatch can still C4 from up above. Bleed don't have an answer for this. Hoven at this point, they either need to rotate Kitchen literally right now, and okay, that is what they're doing. Hoven trying to push in.
That is a dangerous game to play, especially when you don't take your corners. Good trade, though. Oh, big pre-fire from Reaps. He's been mad this game, but he's looking to have a big impact in the server. Noodle looking vertically for something to try and deny the plan, but he doesn't have the angle he's looking for. Diffuser is down for Bleed, but M80 have the numbers. Reaps has been traded back again.
Oh.
All up to Asfi. He's been rough around the edges this game, and now he must stand tall against two of UK's brightest. Noodle and Citizen on for the retake. Asfi's got the info, can't land enough shots, and he gets taken down by Citizen. M80 are firing on all cylinders today. Bleed cannot touch them.
And if Reaps was tilted at this point, he is probably going to be even more so after that round. Every kill acquired by Reaps, only M80 players that die at his hand. He plants the diffuser too, dies
He's
to the
a
shotgun.
one-man army.
Yeah, dies to the shotgun from up above, and then Asfi's unable to clutch the 1v2. Not that Asfi's fault.
He couldn't even find the first kill. Like, oh, it's rough. Like, they're in their own heads. Asfi's got to be kicking himself right now.
He's got to be. Definitely. But Reaps right there, I mean, he was frustrated after 2 rounds, then after 3, after 4.
He was frustrated after he won that round. Like, that... Yeah. Man.
I know we're kind of, highlighting this narrative a lot, but it's really it's indicative of 2 things, right? One, it's that Bleed. If overthinking was their problem, they're certainly still in their own heads right now. I mean, the problem solving right there. They're just sitting there on stage the entire time, not taking control of split, or not putting pressure on anybody's split, not putting pressure on anybody's E, not backstabbing anywhere. And then they only pivot with 30 seconds left, and they're unaware of the player on the site. Which, when you move something on short notice with 30 seconds left, is going to happen. But you, at that point, should have something if you're going to pivot. And when you don't, that's going to happen. Bleed still aren't droning and not gathering intel. They're not solving the problems that are in front of them.
Hoven just didn't check the corner. He really just needed to be a little bit more aware of that positioning. Kitchen a little bit more cautious of it. Even if you had no information, you can't be turning your back to it when you're the Monty. Now, Bleed, I think this is a real case study for how dangerous it is to maybe start allowing that expectation to start creeping in after you have become a renowned dark horse. Everyone starts to say, well, what is this team capable of? And when that starts to seep into your own mindset, they lose a bit of that dark horse magic.
They become real. They start making human mistakes. They start caving to the pressure. The game starts getting to them.
Even this is impressive from Noodle. He's juggling this Rotero drone that's trying to clear the barbed wire. He keeps using the bulletproof camera, and the EMP once again comes out from it. Mentalist is trying to take it down. I don't believe he was able to get the angle there.
No, I think it's placed like... Is it placed on the floor?
Which
yeah.
means the only way to shoot it would be like, laterally.
Really nice bulletproof then. And I mean, honestly, it makes sense if a team is setting up for a big...
he did take it down.
Oh, okay. Well, very good then. But if a team is setting up for a big window, right, white take, and they want to clear out that barbed wire and Akiba barricades, it's a logical place to send those Rotero drones in. So really nice stuff right there. Bleed are going to need to take control of security, make sure nobody can rotate down beneath that window. This utility clear is great, and Mentalist is supposed to be that player, and there is actually, from M80, nobody downstairs inside of security. So Bleed have a lot of what they need already. Their biggest concerns are these Kibas, and then Noodle pushed up very aggressively with a shotgun on this window. And also with the C4, he could try to retake down below later on. Makes sense why he's been the one targeted by the Demos.
There's no two ways about it for Bleed. They need this round to have even a look-in of taking this map, therefore the series. Cafe was a real challenge. You'd expect more out of them on their own map pick, but Oregon has been, if anything, worse than what we saw on the first map. They need to find a second attack before we switch halves. Good Grim. As the Kawan goes in, but Kino goes for a big swing and takes down the star player from Bleed. Ooh. A good shot, though, from Asfi. He does lose his life for it, and not likely to get picked up anytime soon. Noodle getting aggressive. Time is ticking away. Bleed getting desperate. Still numbers advantage in M80's side. Mentalist low HP from his position on White Stairs. He needs to have a huge impact as he gets some support. Noodle doesn't find anything with that C4, but he is still holding fast here inside of kids' dorms. Mentalist has got to erupt here from the top of White, but Hoven's gone for a massive rotation. He's going to get caught by the Banshee. Citizen is fully aware of it, and he will keep him at bay. There is nothing to be said. There's nothing to be done for Bleed. They have once again fallen flat. Waves ineffectually crashing against the wall that is M80. 5-1 on their defense, and the main stage is calling.
And the story of that attacking half, really inconsistent problem solving from Bleed. We see it happen one time on Showers with Mentalist making that play up, also built incredibly by Reaps with that double kill. But aside from that, M80 are putting forth setups and sometimes catching Bleed completely off guard with really good flanks or rotations. But a lot of the time, Bleed are either trying solutions and not executing them well, or doing so unsuccessfully, or not coming up with the solutions at all. One example there of sort of the former, trying something and it not working, we have Turdsta on the Demos. He deathmark tracks the Mute, but he's not able to get the kill from below. They don't have a Buck either to use the Skeleton Key to push Noodle back off that position, so all they have is the Grim, and Noodle doesn't really care because he can play close with a shotgun. Even with that intel, if he can get one shotgun shot off before that pre-fire lands, he can get the kill. Bleed had capabilities to deal with him, failed to do so, and they only get one round out of their attacking side. And M80 are good on attack on this map too.
Yeah, it's just such a far cry from what Bleed were looking for, and it's been written on the wall this whole game through. They have been chalked, and it just goes from bad to worse every single round that goes by. M80 have read them like a book. They're playing their own game. They're not engaging in the smack talk, and now moving on to the attack. Look at this confidence. 14 seconds into the round, Spoit is in the building. The mechanics that you expect out of one of the greatest players to ever touch the game. The Swede is ready for it. He wants to go to the main stage. It's been a hell of a long time since we have seen Spoit on that main stage.
Far too long.
And, well, the first time he ever made his debut, he won the whole damn major back in Berlin. It's time for him to make a return.
In this round, Spoit making a return to probably an old familiar position. We see a lot of aggressive players moving down the freezer stairs, shooting the default and backing out. Spoit is the guy on this team to do that very thing. You'll shoot the cam, you'll look for a gunfight, and if I'm the one who decided to get aggressive against Spoid, you probably better take me home because I am not thinking straight. R4C ACOG in hand. You'll just hold here passively. Wait to see if anybody decides to retake and get aggressive. And I think that's the big win for this position right here. Just making sure nobody can actually move up that staircase and go for that flank. As M80 will just open up all these hatches. 5-man hold on site from Bleed, going with a really strong operator setup. Smokes and Vulcans for denial, C4s, and then the Kiva barricades and the mirror windows. The latter for the front, the former for the back. Really strong setup from Bleed. Put forth, really good setup.
It's true, but M80 have got a lot of good ingredients to pick it apart, and they've already done so. Half the round is done. Look at all this util being cleared. Great usage of a nade there to get rid of that Vulcan canister. 20 seconds will elapse. Spoid's getting aggressive down here as well with his Ash charges. I believe he's now dispatched with both of the mirror windows. M80 are just paving a way for them to march forward.
Interesting, no Twitch though, and while he has dealt with one mirror window, he's not dealt with the other one in Laundry, so if they wanted to go for a front side take, it'd be a bit difficult. It's very spread out right now, but I think they're coalescing around the backside. Monty coming down, the Kawarm going out. Yep, here comes the execute.
The Citizen's been so good this series. Kino starts to go forward. Gas keeps him at bay for a brief moment. Look at this from Spoit. Down the ground, but he's been taken out. That's exactly what Mentalist needed, but he then cops a bullet from Noodle. The Brits are both springing into action, and he gets another one. Noodle snuck behind enemy lines. He's deep into the site, and now forcing the diffuser down. Kino is being an absolute menace. Takes a hell of a lot of damage, but it's not enough because once again, the Brits between the two of them find all 5 kills. M80 are just 1 round away from making their debut on the main stage.
Such a weird phrase to say considering the high profile this team has had, the expectations, how long they've been at these events for the past year, but for the first time since this organization has entered Rainbow Six, they are 1 round away from qualifying to that main stage. Insane stuff that it's taken this long. But it's Oregon defense. It's a 5-1 half for M80. But it's a very different position. M80 had a map win before. They've had a great record on this map on defense yesterday against ITB. Bleed don't have that same momentum or history recently. Exactly.
Wow.
Oh.
It really is the Reaps one-man shove.
They can't see how Reaps has been taking this game, but
no,
that's probably not going to help. I mean,
that's the last thing that anyone on Bleed wants to hear right now.
And yeah, honestly, like.
And Reaps is top-ranking the team, and not by a small margin,
That's
right?
what I was going to say.
That's all he's got going through his mind. Everyone else on the team is, I don't know, mixed emotions of feeling maybe like, oh, I should have got more kills, or maybe a bit of resentment. It's like, I would have got more kills if not for XYZ.
Yeah. It's just Reaps and, Turch does well, 4 and 6, but 5 kills between Hoven, Asfi, and Mentalist. Remember, this isn't an elimination game. Bleed still have 1 shot, but this feels like the emotional... I suppose the emotional peak of Bleed has passed, and this could be, depending on what happens tomorrow, maybe not even the valley, maybe not even the bottom.
Well, just look at the difference between this game and what happened against Furia, right? Like, Bleed got smacked on the first map, they had a laugh, they came back, and they almost beat Furia on the second map.
7-8 loss against the world champs. Ridiculous.
Yeah, that's something that you can't cut yourself up about. But going down like this to M80, where the first map wasn't great, but at least it was somewhat competitive, and now the second map has been an utter devastation. This has got to have ripple effects for the rest of the tournament for Bleed, and their chances of making it through to main stage are looking very, very grim. M80 exuding confidence. Look at the way Kino has just gone straight up into Big Tower and made his way down to get aggressive on the stairs with a shotgun. This is the face of a man who's just ready to take it.
They're ready to take this fight when he wants, and it's another basement defense, and we have Spoit already pushed well, not pushed aggressively down Freezer yet. It's actually Kino on the backside. I believe I saw Reaps earlier. Position at the bottom of Freezer stairs, so M80 might be telegraphing a backside take a little bit, but this is the benefit of basement, ironically enough, even how difficult the site can be to attack. You can open up all the hatches, and you can decide where you want to go very flexibly and rotate very flexibly, but actually committing can be a bit difficult, but this Grim was so helpful for their peace of mind last time. No Monty to brute force the control, I will say, so not having that makes pushing down a little difficult. That Grim and that Doke beat becomes really, really important to inform the decisions taken by Spoit, by Kino, by anybody that's moving down to the bottom floor on the side of M80 to win those fights. They were able to do so last time, but when the Monty was disrupting them and when it was in their face.
Oh, here's the drop though from Noodle. And Spoit does find the opening kill. Straight on into it. Reaps, though, the one-man shove.
Ooh, dodges
Gets the better of
C4.
Spoit. That's a big dodge, but Bleed are not going to go down without a fight. Numbers back on their side once again as Turd has found his. Cameraman is still up, though. These three players from M80 look to go forward. Noodle finds a pick, and a big one at that.
He's got the Grim and long haul too. They might have man advantage, but they've got this intel to get the diffuser down.
And so Noodle will do that. Information, no doubt. Bleed have to make their move, but they do so together. Noodle takes a bit of damage as he falls back, but he deals it again. Reaps continues to shove, but it's up to Cameraman to take down the demon from China. The UK will have two homeboys to appease the crowd. For the first time since their inception, M80 make their main stage debut.
Long overdue. Picking up that old exec core, having a year of utter failure in 2023, let's be honest. But then revamping this roster, keeping Spoit, bringing back Kino, and signing some of the best players up and coming in the case of Noodle, veteran in the case of Citizen, and then the most veteran you can get with Cameraman leading the charge. Finally, a year and 3 months since their entrance, M80 are on the main stage of a Rainbow Six event. Spoit is back on the main stage of a Rainbow Six event.
And the curse seems to be over. Bleed were the demons for M80 in Atlanta, and they did it in a BO3 in Sao Paulo for Six Invitational. But it turns out that the secret for M80 in the end was just being a European and Brazilian team after all,
right.
Playing in North America. A big win for M80, and you just look at the faces of these guys. This was just another day in the office. The Cameraman a return to main stage after what he achieved in Atlanta, making it to another major final with Los. Now he's back with a new roster, a new look for this team, who are seeming very promising at perhaps being a contender for the trophy and bringing one home for NA.
I think that's actually, I'm glad you brought that up, because BDS have been looking a lot weaker than we expected. FaZe have been looking a lot weaker than we expected. Fury have already qualified, so they're still very much a contender. But the triumvirate, BDS, FaZe, Furia, it's not so much a triumvirate right now. It's just Furia really showing up. There's an opportunity, depending on what happens, for another team to slip in there. Will it be Secret? Will it be M80, who are now one of the new teams qualified to the playoffs? There's room for a surprise dark horse run now.
Yeah, very much so. What a series this was. Bleed completely pushed aside, and a great game from, in particular, Noodle. I think that he's the one that I really want to focus on. He was quite a controversial player back in the day when he first made his debut with Heroic. There was that infamous clip where Mr. Officer really went in on him for being a bit of a downer, being a little bit of I guess a young, fiery player and not supporting his teammates. And since then, what a redemption he's had. Over on GK, he made main stage in Atlanta, joining the Saudis, and now he's back in North America for the first time.
And I think that's when I realized that on that GK squad that Noodle was the real deal, that he really cared about winning, because we've seen a lot of players go to LATAM, go to MENA, and basically just, you know, waste a year or so of their career and not make anything of it. But Noodle went to GK, and the fire only intensified, but he matured as well as a player, as a person, and when they made that deep run and he didn't like the direction the team was going, he left, joined a new squad with M80, and now has made another main stage event, his second 2 majors in a row. Noodle will find himself in a quarterfinal on 2 different squads. Another thing to highlight, of course, Cameraman, the second highest rated player in that series, 2 majors in a row. He'll find himself on the main stage again, but on Bleed, we knew it was the Reap show, but even then, he wasn't taking over the game. Still negative by the end of it. Turd's still the only positive player, but it was a team loss from Bleed.
And at the end of the day, you can't rag on individual players for their performances with Bleed. Like, it's a team effort, it's a team game, and really it came down to the mental game.
It did.
And that is the biggest weakness of Bleed as we've seen them at the moment. This team is capable of so much when they play at their 100%, but half of playing any professional competitive competition is learning how to get to your 100% as much of the time as possible, and that has been the real demon for Bleed in these last few years. Now that there's finally pressure on this dark horse because of the expectation they've set, they are starting to fail. Now they have one last chance to survive and that's all it takes. But of course, we have put our third team from the major onto the main stage. It is M80, and we have a few more that are going to be fighting for it later today. So stick around. More action here at the major coming to you very shortly.